think about what I was doing. Hello, everyone. This is episode 107, I think, of the Pro Synth Network show live, coming to you from entirely from the United Kingdom today. It is just gone 7 p.m. on Friday, the 6th of May, which is a very special day because it's my daughter's 18th birthday today. So happy birthday to my little girl. And and so I'm feeling rather fat, or fatter, should I say, because we had big cheesecake. And I couldn't, say no. So there you go. Anyway, first things first, massive thank you, and we'll come to him in just a minute, but massive thank you to Ben for running the show for the last couple of weeks. He did a fantastic job. So big round of applause for Benjamin, and let's do this. There we go. Hey!
Oh, nice.
Sound effects and everything. But Ben did a marvellous job of taking care of everything while I was out for the last couple of weeks, and I've watched the shows back. They're thoroughly entertaining. Of course, he's ably assisted by Kent as well. We've got something to tell you about Kent too. He's come out. He's come out of his cupboard. But first of all, let's go to Ben and say hi. Hello, sir. How you
doing?
Evening.
Good evening. Right? I'm all right. Yeah.
Are you less stressed?
I'm looking forward to tonight because I used to get a little bit nervous before the shows, but since I've had to cover for you, I've realised that my involvement was like a piddle, and I can just sit here and chill and just join in.
That's the whole point.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Yeah,
good. Have you been busy with the band?
Not as much. No, Phil's on a writing spree. He's written about 40 songs in 2 weeks. Nice. All these ideas are just flowing out of him. So we're trying to keep up with that. Yeah. We've got no gig this weekend. But that's a good thing because I'm still a bit off. I'm not 100% yet.
No. That was the other thing I was going to say, how you feeling there, but
I've just got another course of antibiotics. It's something to do with my leg, and I've been for X-rays today, so we'll find out what it is soon enough.
Hope you feel better soon, mate. And thank you again for everything for the last couple of weeks. You did a great job, so thank you very much. Let's go across to the west side of London. We'll go meet Mr. Kent Spong. Has had a haircut. Hello.
I have
Look at that.
Yeah. Fell under the lawnmower.
How you doing?
Very good, thank you.
Good. Anything new in your world? Have you got any new buildings erected or keyboards?
There was a lot of moving stuff around today. Yeah. There was a lot of moving stuff around and ting. But nothing major.
Okay, good. But you're well otherwise, yes?
Yeah.
Good. Nice long show last night.
Not overly.
I fully intended to leave at about midnight and was there till the bitter end.
I mean,
it was good fun.
I was going to wrap it up about midnight as well, but you know what it's like.
Indeed. You can't stop these people talking. I know.
Natter.
Anyway, good to have you back. And let's before we come on to our guest, which is awfully messy business, can I just sorry, I've been saving these up all week. So can I just ask, first of all, if you haven't already, could you like the video? If you do it during the show, apparently that makes a real big difference. So please do that. If you are liking it, if you're disliking it, well, hit the dislike button. We do have, I know we have one serial disliker. And I don't know who it is, but every week there's one. Yeah, it's probably Andrew. But every week there's one person possibly, or it must be the same person. I don't know. I'd love to know who.
Maybe it's somebody I'm pissed off.
Yeah, it could be. We've all pissed people off, but anyway.
Not as many as I have.
If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do, and then you'll get notifications, and it just helps us do lots more things. The more subscribers we have, etc. And of course, if you think that anybody else would love to watch this show or be involved in this show, then share the links around as much as you can. That would be fantastic. We can't do this show without you guys, without your support financially, and my word, all of you that have donated, we are so grateful. And there's been so many of you, and some of you have donated ridiculously huge amounts of money. And it's when I see those emails come in, I think, wow, this is just crazy. I have on a couple of occasions had to email them back and say, are you sure you didn't put the decimal place one step too far to the right? But no, they're absolutely so Thank you to everyone. Superb. If you want to donate, you can donate. You can donate via PayPal at the link below. It's also in the description. But also, you can use Super Chat and Super Stickers on YouTube, and we have a new feature enabled now called Super Thanks, which means you don't have to worry about donating live during the show. You can just hit the thank you button under the video and it comes up with a message, and then we know who's sent that, and so that's really cool. So there's lots of ways that you can help keep us on the air. Of course, we're also on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all of those places, and of course here on YouTube, and our handle is, as always, at ProSynth Network across the board. I'm going to introduce our guest in just a moment. Before I do, if you have any questions for us or for him, please, if you could put a big capital Q in front of your question in the chat. That's what on earth? Stop that! Honestly, it's filth. It's pure filth. A big letter Q in front of your question.
It didn't go too well.
Dear, oh dear. And that will just help us pick those out and put them into the question basket, which we will then return to and ask our guest or any of us any of these questions. There you go. Yeah, cap in hand.
Yeah.
So I think that's all of the formalities out of the way. Welcome back to the show, everyone. And we've got, before we meet our guest, we're going to make one announcement. You see that guy below me here in the yellow shirt? That's it. Yeah, you.
That I wore last night as well, filthy bugger.
Oh no. By the way, merch. Look at that.
Merch.
Oh yeah,
Merch.
That merch. I haven't got mine on tonight.
Mine's in the wash. Mine's in the wash.
It's in the wash. But
I've not worn this. I've not worn this all week deliberately.
Andy from Viper Graphics is in the chat, so if you're interested in a Pro Synth Network shirt, any other shirt really, he'll do anything, I suppose. Yeah. But he's in the chat if you just give him a shout.
Hebden Bridge shirt.
Hebden Bridge.
Yeah.
I was going to make this announcement. I was just going to say, Peter James Stephen, thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Really great to see you here watching and in the chat. And thank you so much for your donation. Superb. But anyway, so as I was saying, this guy below me here in the yellow shirt, Mr. Kent Spong, you may have realised that he's been on the show quite a bit in the last few weeks, and we just can't seem to get rid of him.
Stuck to the chair.
We've decided that he's now an official member of the ProSynth Network team. So there you go. Welcome aboard officially, Mr. Spong. Yeah. Well, you know...
Do I get paid?
No.
Oh, okay.
But I will let the cheers and whoops go all the way to the end.
Okay.
There you go.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, he's official. And he's that official that he's now in the end credits as well.
Am I?
Stick around to the end of the show to find out, yes.
Spelled my name wrong.
It's difficult. That's difficult.
Yeah, it is. Put an E on the end. It's hilarious.
Sponge.
Yeah.
Kenty?
Kenty, yeah. Kenty Spong.
Oh, dear.
Anyway,
look, this other guy who's like there, I could never do this right. Mr. Andrew Longhurst, welcome to the show. How are you?
What's it got to do with you?
Oh, all right.
You're getting very personal. You invite me on the show. I've got to be gone in 5 minutes. My tea's waiting.
Well, can I just explain to everyone that you've had some microphone issues, so you're coming through us through your webcam microphone, which is better than no microphone at all. So if anybody wants to bring that up in the chat, don't bother. We know he doesn't sound perfect, but he's almost there. So anyway,
whatever do you mean? I don't sound perfect.
So Andrew, how have you been?
I've been very well.
Yeah,
been
busy.
Very well. Yeah, thank you. It's been a good week. It's been the end of a lot of projects coming to an end, and then lots of new projects coming on, and just that enough of a gap that I can go, which is good.
So of course you're managing director of MMO UK, which is Multimedia Outsourcing UK. Which is one of your many things.
It's changing its name.
Okay, what's it changing to?
We're changing to Movier because no one can remember.
has a ring to it for sure.
So Movier is movies and virtual, and so we've got Movier Studios, which is the studios next door, and we'll have Movier Media. So we're doing we're getting all serious.
Rebranding exercise. Nice. Cool.
Rebranding.
We will speak to you about MMO UK or Movia in a little while. Of course, after we've done some of the news topics. Can I just say, lovely DX5 behind you there.
It's a bit lovely.
Look at that. It's nice, isn't it?
1986, I think it was. I bought that, and it's still with me.
Could do some new end cheeks.
Sorry?
Could do some new end cheeks. They look a bit scuffed.
It could definitely do with some new end cheeks. But
I'll put you in touch with some.
Yeah. Well, I've got to order the fascia and the plastic panel, and that's for the KX actually, isn't it? So the KX88, that's got to be ordered. I'll get the end cheeks for that. So
nice. Good stuff. But yeah, we'll talk to you about all things MMO UK or whatever it's going to be called, and of course your history throughout the music industry over the last nearly 40 years, I think it is. So yeah, look forward to that. Nice trip down memory lane. But before we do, let's bring everybody back into the room. So there we go. Hello, and hello to everyone that's in the chat, and also hello to everyone that's watching on catch up that isn't watching us live but is watching this on the catch-up service, whenever it might be. Welcome. I hope you're all well. So thank you for joining us. And say, if you've got any questions, throw them in the chat. Put a big queue in front of them so that we can pick them out. But let's crack on, shall we, with the first news topic of the week. And I don't have any skin in this game whatsoever. But it is the announcement from Steinberg that Nuendo, I always want to call it Nuendo. Nuendo, the premium audio for professionals, has just been upgraded to version 12. Now, I know that our friend Ty Unwin is a big Nuendo user. He's got a big Nuendo. So these puns, they just write themselves.
Yeah, I know, it's always in his endo.
It's always in his endo, yeah. But I dabbled with this many years ago. So a friend of mine had it, and I had Cubase, and he had Nuendo, and I just thought, it's too much for me as just a MIDI musician, which is kind of what I describe myself as. Yeah. This is way more powerful and professional. But I'm going to go to our guest first because you are in the biz. Do you use Nuendo?
Do you know, we hadn't. I've just upgraded to Cubase 12, and you know what? I think we're about to make the jump. We use Wavelab. We use Wavelab. The latest versions of Wavelab. We use this. We've used all sorts of tools in the past, including Cakewalk, and everything. Everything from Pro Tools right the way through, and we use Prem Pro and all sorts of other things. But Nuendo's is now at a point where, with all the stuff that's going on, and especially as we're deeply into the virtual world, we're doing a lot of stuff with Unreal. It kind of makes sense to make that leap, and we're our workflow is such that we're constantly going, turning stuff out to different packages to work. And with Nuendo, we can kind of bring it all in-house into the one space, so we can do it all in there. So it kind of makes sense. And for us, audio is what got us into the video side, and audio is still probably the most important part for us about the video side, because it without it, they just don't work. Many of them just don't work. So it's something, it's time. And I've got to say, looking at the feature set that they've got for this now, especially on the restorative side, on the ADR side, all of that kind of thing, it just makes a lot of sense. What I haven't yet done is load it in and do all that whilst we're also doing dubbing with soundtracks, with music and sound effects. And I'm kind of interested to see how that all sits in the same space. So yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to that. I'm going to give. If he was still working for them, I'd be in touch with Manfred. You remember Manfred?
Yes.
So we had many a brandy just round the corner from Steinberg once upon a time. But yeah, no, it's a good package. It is a good package.
Nice. Joke of the week goes to Paul Artola. Innuendo is Italian for Prep H. Hang on, we've got something for that.
There you go.
We do sound effects and everything. That eats your heart out, week. Dom. Yeah.
Try the fish.
Very good. So I mean, look, I know that we really should have had Ty on for this week, but I know he's up to his proverbials But Nuage, he's a big Nuage user, isn't he, as well? So that whole integration with, and obviously Yamaha and Steinberg being so deeply connected now. Does Yamaha own Steinberg? Is that how?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
So this really is for pro audio in the studio, for Dolby Atmos work, for gaming, for virtual reality. It is the kind of the premium product, not for us mere mortals. I would suspect. Ben, have you ever used this? Ever thought about using this, or is it too much?
No, I've used this. Earlier versions of her, because when I was using Nutex Lightwave, and there was they created some interchanging plugins between the two platforms, and you were able to then sync various things and stuff like that.
Right.
So obviously I'm old now, can't do rendering because I'll be dead before any project's finished. And but now it's really, really a one-stop shop for syncing to picture, for everything, because you can just move stuff around and do all it. And there was one feature on it that I loved, which was the it can find chords in audio and print them out as MIDI data, and stuff like that. But I like the way you could scale and move, sound events to picture live and stuff like that, which I really could have done with when I was doing the rendering. So, because you just have to end up counting frames and it needs to be there, sort of thing.
It's got
nightmare.
Flex audio, hasn't it? That you can kind of stretch things and move things in real time. It is essentially Cubase, but it's got these additions in it that are geared up for multimedia people, and it is. Well, if I was going to make the leap from anything, it'd be from Cubase to this, because it's essentially the same thing with more features.
It is interesting with these things when you're doing what we do. It's a very expensive industry, video, just because everything costs, just the hardware for rendering, as Ken was saying, unless you want it to take forever. The hardware costs a lot, the software subscriptions cost a lot, the effects of stuff costs a lot. So you're constantly looking for ways to improve the workflow, so the workflow speeds up. Because guess what? People haven't got bottomless pockets. No matter how much we love our clients, they don't love us enough to want to spend a gazillion pounds more each time an upgrade comes up. So what's really good about Nuendo, and so many of the software packages that are coming out at the moment, is they only had a couple of things. I think with Nuendo there's about 3 or 4, possibly 5 new things in there that will cut the time it takes us to do some of the processes we do in half or more. And over a period of a year, that even a month, it pays for itself. Just the hourly rate of having people doing this stuff, editors or audio editors, whatever. The cost of doing it using lots of different packages and the time it takes them to do that, if we cut that in half, it pays for it. It pays for it. So and it makes the whole. This is something we'll get onto later, but the whole idea of getting from the creative idea through to what you either see on screen or hear from the music, anything which cuts down that time so that it's more immediate is a really good thing, and that's kind of what Nuendo's doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that did surprise me is I thought it'd be more expensive, because it's full version of Nuendo 12 is 859 quid. I just kind of thought, for what I've seen that it does, that it would have been 4 figures, maybe, but it's 859. Yeah. And if you want a cross grade, Ben, say from Cubase Pro 12,
359 or something,
386.
386, there you go.
With your VAT. And if you want a cross grade from previous versions, it's still 386. And then cross grades from very low or very old versions, 644. And any non-Steinberg product. So if you can provide proof of ownership of anything such as Ableton Live, Logic, Pro Tools, Bitwig, Reaper, Sonar, FL Studio, Motu Digital Perform at 386 quid.
Here's a lovely tip and hint for everyone listening, just in case they are tempted. BandLab have the version of Sonar that is free.
Free, yeah.
And if you get that, the cross-grade pricing still applies.
I'm not happy about this. Right. Right. I'm a loyal Steinberg customer, right? I've been buying Cubase since, I don't know, the very first Cubase audio, you know. I've been buying it for years, and I get the same discounts as somebody who's found a free bit of software online somewhere and cashed it in.
Well, no. I will say that the normal cross grade from a non-Steinberg product is 644, but currently for an introductory period it's 386. So you still have a slight point, but not for
And the other thing about that, having worked in both sides of these industries, as it were, the thing is, you always get people saying, look, but I've been a loyal customer, why don't I get that pricing? And if you speak to them, do you know what? They'll probably give it you, just to keep you on board, especially if you've been doing this, right? The thing is, it's about getting people to make that cross-grade, and once they do, they're not going to get that price. They're going to get the same pricing as you from then on in. And they either make a product that's good enough to keep you engaged and involved, or they don't. Yeah. And I've got to say, they really do. They do.
Yeah. So anyway, there you go. Nuendo 12 is out now. So if you are in the pro audio and video business, I guess, and you're in that world, it's the tool to have. Also, a full education version as well, which is only $429. So if you're in that arena, you can get it. So yeah, Steinberg.net. Is the web address to go and find out about Nuendo 12. And maybe next time Ty is on, he can tell us a bit more about his use of that and the Nuage. Which is lovely. Nuage. It's nice. Nuage. It sounds a bit local.
It's Irish. It's a Irish thing.
It's out now. Right. So, was it last week, Ben, that you guys debated? Wasn't it? Where you debated the Pepsi Cola test from Cherry Audio, where you did the 6 random samples of tell whether it's analog or digital. I did it once, and I think I got 4.
Yeah, we got 4 collectively. I got 0 on my own.
And I have to admit that my 4 was probably luck. I did try and listen to see if I could hear anything that might give it away, and I just thought, I'll go for that one. So it was a little bit lucky, but I have to admit that it stirred up a lot of debate, and let's see what it was all for, because it all was leading up to this, which got launched just a few days ago. Let's play the video for you now. Go. It's $39 as most of their stuff is introductory, and it usually stays at $39 for some while. There's been a lot of talk in the last few days since this came out. It's another MiniMoog emulation. We've got plenty of them, and there's always been I think for the history of VST plugins, there's always been a MiniMoog somewhere. Because what was that one that was like, I remember years and years, like 20 years ago, there was a
Native did one, didn't they?
Native did. There was one
standalone
that.
one.
Steinberg did the
Steinberg
the
did, but there was one that was
Model E, wasn't it?
Yeah, but there was one that wasn't by like a major brand that everyone swore by. I can never remember its name. Maybe the hive mind in the chat room could let us know.
Yeah, I've
but
got some vague memory of that. Yeah,
there's always been, because it's the one, isn't it? It's the one that you're going to start with, and it's a classic, and they've done it really, really well. Thank you, Ronald Wild, for your donation. It's really it's been done, but if you want to get the Arturia one, it's what, 99 or 149. If you want to get the soft tube one, which is excellent, but that's around the same price. I got mine on offer, but that was about, I can't remember, it was about 40 something quid.
Yeah, it was on offer a while back, wasn't it?
But this is permanently going to be a low price,
that.
and they've done a really great job, in my humble opinion. I think it's done really well, and there's lots of people that are saying, "Wow, that's not bad for the price." And I think that's the standard kind of comment when it comes to Cherry Audio. But I'm going to turn it over to Kent first, because Kent's probably, out of all of us, has probably got more experience with the real deal and with software recreations as well. So tell us your thoughts on the MiniMoog.
Right. It's incredibly good for the money. Incredibly good for the money. There's no two ways about it. Have they captured the essence? Yeah, almost. Yeah. It's. I mean, just for the money, it's just really, really good. Yeah. There's no two ways about it. It really does. If you play it polyphonically, because it's 16-note poly, I believe it can do. It will stop sounding like a MiniMoog, obviously, for all the obvious reasons. But yeah, you play it like a Mini, and do all your mono stuff and everything, and yeah, it's definitely there. It's definitely there. Is it as good as the other, the Arturia and the soft tube one? No, but that's the difference in the price. Yeah. But if you just want to get a good dirty, get the Mini out and give it some. Yeah, ideal. Absolutely ideal.
Absolutely. Yeah. MD Peach in the chat room. MiniMoog, MOGUE VA. That's the one. I'm pretty sure that's the one I was thinking of, which was a freebie many years ago.
Yes.
Yeah. And I seem to remember having that in my little early VST arsenal.
Yeah.
So there you go. It's kind of got a seal of approval there from a man who knows all about those things. Andrew, I know we were talking about this before we came on air. What are your thoughts on this?
I think like with so much of this stuff, it's good. As Kent said, for £39, it's stupidly cheap, and it's kind of, why wouldn't you? It's not. It's got something odd about the really high frequencies that's a bit harsh and a bit sort of. But you know what? With a little bit of EQ. And a bit of whatever, it's fine for $39. If you're going to use it as software, do. But my only issue with it at all is I'm kind of moving back to hardware. So the idea of it being a software, I'm kind of done with so much of the software synth thing, because I just like to grab a handful of knobs and.
So
is
we've
that
heard.
what I should be doing? Yeah. And but I have to say, £39. If you haven't got one already, it's a really good buy. Yeah. Why wouldn't you?
Absolutely. So I mean, it looks like the real deal. It sounds pretty much, as close as. Yeah. For it's $39 close. But I think actually that by saying that, I feel sometimes we're being a bit harsh to say, oh well, it's only $39. What do you expect? I think if they were to sell this for $99, people would say, yeah, that's reasonable.
Yeah,
because it does exactly what it says on the tin, and a little bit more than what your regular kind of MiniMoog does. It's got all sorts of.
That's what I was trying to get across. Is that, does it sound like the soft tube one? No, the soft tube one it's up there somewhere.
Yeah.
But because this is $39, what you're getting is, more than halfway there. So it should be, twice as much, 3 times as much as it is to equate to its quality, if you see what I mean. So it is actually a great VSTI to get.
Yeah. And let's not forget that this has got MPE stuff built in as standard. So it's not shabby in its terms of its feature set as well as its sound. So
you do have to turn that on yourself, though.
So I don't have any MPE gear, so I can't.
As standard, it doesn't fire up with MPE active. You have to go
have you not got a Hydra synth, Rob?
Shut up.
Has he not got one?
I don't think he has. He's never mentioned it. But I've got.
Do you know what? With all those keyboards, I thought he'd have one.
Yeah.
Well, so here's a question.
Are we
Here's
done?
a question. Here's a question for you. Talking about the MiniMoog. So it's a pretty good replicate of the original. It sounds good. In a track, it's going to sound really, really close. It's very good. I guarantee. I'm fairly certain they won't be paying Moog a royalty on it, will they?
Nope. But
right. So go on.
Well, I was going to say this has been launched in conjunction with the launch of, is it Bob Moog Month, that the Bob Moog Foundation who of course aren't affiliated with the Moog instrument company, but they've launched it in connection with the Moog Foundation, so there is that. But no, they say at the bottom of the webpage, MiniMoog and MiniMoog Model D are registered trademarks. There's no association, affiliation, or endorsement.
Okay, so the question I was going to say was, we're all sort of, let's talk about $39 or 39 quid, whatever. It's a steal. A lot of people are getting really incensed. I'm just waiting for the reaction from over here about a certain other manufacturer who's essentially copying everyone else's synths, old and new, and doing new versions of them, about which an awful lot of people have become incensed. And I get it, but no one's doing the same thing with the plugins. I'm just wondering if what.
And it's always been like that, hasn't it?
I've wondered that myself a few times. It's like, if it's hardware, it's not on. Software.
But if it's a software emulation, it's fine. It's still, clearly legally they're allowed to do it. IP has lapsed. But that whole issue of IP is still one that's, wouldn't it be nice if a certain music company were to donate a certain percentage of its profits to either those organisations, such as the Bob Moog Foundation, from every sale of one of those, to say, look, isn't this let's just put something back into the pot.
Yeah,
it'd be a nice thing to do.
Even if it was a quid, it's the gesture, isn't it? It's
Well,
that'll be £9.
We've got Dan Goldstein. I have to get these names right because I was getting mixed up with the guy from Rhodes. We've got Dan Goldstein and Mitchell Sigmund, who's coming back on the show, both from Cherry Audio, who have worked on this, and they're coming on. It's next week, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, next week. So we tried to coincide them coming on with this coming out, and we kind of just missed by a week. But they're both coming on the show, so Mitchell will have done the UI work on this, and Dan and his team will have done the work on the audio side. And certainly a question that we'll put to them. But it's true what you say. When it comes to lambasting those that are plagiarizing, shall we say, for want of a better or different word, software companies do seem to get a free ticket. Hardware companies not so much. Specifically one hardware company, because let's be honest, the MiniMoog has been cloned in various ways in hardware, as has 303s and 808s and 909s, and nobody really made a fuss about them until that certain company came along, and they already had a reputation.
It's done a little more blatantly, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think, there's some of the behind-the-scenes things. It was tarnishing anything they were doing rather than what they were doing.
But that's not a discussion we're going to have today. We've had that discussion many times. We get right off track.
Yeah.
But anyway, look, as we've said, $39. Ben, what's your favourite MiniMoog plugin? Is this it, or
I did like the Model 72, is it?
Oh yeah, 72, soft tube.
Soft tube. Yeah, I did like that. I had the demo of that for a while, and when it was on sale, I thought, all right, I'm definitely going to get that.
Yeah.
And I forgot all about it and didn't get it. So that, for me, that is the best one. And as soon as it comes on sale again, I'm going to get it.
Yeah.
But I've got the sub 37. So I know it's not a MiniMoog, but I do me Moogy stuff on that. It's got a similar kind of tone. So I would mainly use that. And I've got the Arturia one. If I'm putting ideas down, I'll use the Arturia one. And I compared them side by side before, and I did get a pretty identical, the same settings on both of them was pretty similar, very similar. But there was some things about the Cherry Audio one that I preferred over the Arturia. It was like when I was detuning the oscillators on the Arturia one, it was like almost there and then past.
Yeah.
you know the point where I wanted. There was like no in between. There's probably some sort of like shift click or something that you can do finer adjustments. But on the Cherry Audio one, I just dialed in exactly what it felt right where it was. I just moved it the amount I expected to move it, and it sounded right. So I think it's calibrated maybe a little bit better than the Arturia one in that respect. The filter seems a bit more aggressive than the Arturia one.
Let's not forget that Bob himself actually gave Arturia like an endorsement, didn't he? I think for their one.
The first version was.
So
Yeah, he did. Wasn't it? Yeah, he did.
And look, and that the one thing that will always come up, and I'm surprised nobody said it in the chat room yet, so I'll say it anyway. Somebody will always pop along and say, but no two MiniMoogs will sound exactly the same. And to be fair, that is true. So it is. You've got the essence, and I think if all you've got is $39, here you go. If you want to spend a bit more on the soft tube one or the Arturia one, and maybe you've got V collection or whatever, then you might not want this. But I always think about my son. My 16-year-old son who's about to do. He's just finished his GCSEs on music technology. He's about to do that at A level in September, and here he is. He's sat there with a computer, a pretty old computer, let's say. And he can have stuff like this. He can actually buy this with his pocket money if he stays up for a few weeks or gets a bloody job. But this is not out of reach. Whereas back in my day, this wasn't a thing. Yeah. So you just didn't have this, and so I just keep thinking, oh God, how lucky are people today to at least have.
Then on
access
the
to
other
something.
hand, because we trailed around all the music shops trying to blag our way onto playing the SH1000, or if we were lucky, a Modular something, or whatever it was. Because we had to trail around and do that, it was just so much. There was something about that process of just being able to get your filthy hands on.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was a great thing.
I'm not 100% sure, but I think it was around-ish 20 years ago when virtual instruments first started showing up.
Yeah,
I had my own studio at the time. That's how I remember it. It was coming towards the end of that, and there was things like it was the Model E, and there was just a few things coming out that there was that drum machine one, what was it? The Steinberg one, LM1. There was the LM1.
Oh right, yeah.
And they were basic, but you were thinking, this is going to get good, but that Cherry Audio MiniMoog, if you'd have heard that then, it would have literally have blown your mind. It's
absolutely.
Thing is, it wouldn't have played on any of the computer hardware that was around.
I was just about to say, when I got into Cubase on, I think it was 3.1, and then Cubase VST came out a couple of years or a year or so after, and I got the upgrade. And I couldn't play any of those virtual instruments that came with it because my computer just wasn't up to the spec. And I dismissed VSTs and that out of hand. I was like, hardware's, that's the way to go. But it was only because I'd got a rubbish computer. And once I got a decent computer, all of a sudden, all of these plugins were available and working, and I was like a pig in the proverbial. So, we live in.
They're going to be like in another 20 years?
Oh, jeez,
if they've made the jump from, say, from Steinberg's Model E to G-Force's OBE.
Yeah. Exactly.
That leap is just monumental in 20 years.
Oh yeah.
Where will we be?
Have? Yeah.
Do you remember about 20 years ago, the other thing which happened around about 22 years ago was when I was involved with a certain company.
Mm-hmm. Flightless.
Yeah.
Long necks. Yeah.
Flightless with long necks. And we had samplers such as that beauty down there, the E4 Ultra. The Giga sampler came out. Do you remember that?
I do.
And people were buying a PC just to put
Just
the
to
Giga
run
sampler on. And we were working with a bunch of people. Who's the guy that does Simpsons music?
Dan.
Oh God, him.
It's the one that does.
Danny Elfman did the
Danny
first-
Elfman. That's it.
Danny Elfman. He had a rack of E4 samplers.
Right.
And he replaced them with Giga samplers because the samples were you could do more with stuff. But still, it was that all changed. And now look what's happening with sampling. We've now got things like Contact, which you can although it's a sample based thing, you can build an entire synthesis engine, essentially a brand new synth from the same platform. So. And it's kind of how far do you want to go? How far do you want to go? And the truth of the matter is, most people that get a synth, not all the people we talk to, not the people here, but most people will hit the presets and might make a little twiddle, make it a bit brighter, as they would call it, a bit brighter, or take a bit more time to come in.
Yeah.
But that's it, and so all the stuff under the hood, all the stuff, the stuff that we've done with either virtual patch cores or real, that kind of gets lost. So I just wonder where things will go.
That'd be interesting, and hopefully we'll all be around to see what happens. Fingers crossed. Just big shout out to Dina Perlman, who has just joined us in the chat room from the Alan R. Perlman Foundation. Hello, darling. How are you? Hope you're well.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. So there you go. That's Cherry Audio's MiniMoog. $39. Normally $59, but I don't think I've ever seen them put their stuff back up to normal price. So get it while it's hot. It's a really good emulation. It won't cost the earth. CherryAudio.com. And come back next week where we'll have Cherry Audio's head honcho, Dan Goldstein, along with their UI guy, Mitchell Sigmund, who we've had on the show before and is utterly brilliant. The pair of them will be on, and you can ask them all about MiniMoog and anything else that you want to talk to them about. So please do join us next week for that. Right. Let's see. What should we do now?
Before you move on, I'd just like to add another thing about Cherry Audio that's quite cool. The little loading screen that you get when you've installed the software. And the first time you load it up as a VST, you get this dead retro vector grid thing, don't you? It takes me right back to the shareware days on the Amiga and that, the splash screens that you used to have at the beginning.
It's like Tron, isn't it?
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Very cool.
Great little touch that.
Yeah. I just think they're such a cool little company. And they are small. They're a small company, but they're doing some amazing things. So well done to them. And next week we can speak to them more about it. Shall we do? Let's. We've been talking about things that emulate hardware. Let's actually talk about some hardware. This one I didn't know anything about until just the other day. I'm going to play this demo first, and this demo is actually from a member of our ProSynth Network Facebook group. So I don't know if Ernesto is watching, but thank you for doing this, because it's clearly one of the better demos that is out there. So this is a new synth called the GSE7, and it's a polyphonic analog synthesizer from Argentina, which is not a country that's well known, I guess, for its synthesizer development. But hey, there's a first time for everything, and let's have a listen to Ernesto going sort of through the system itself.
This took us 25 minutes.
Bloomin' adverts. I got rid of these, and then here we go. MIDI packs. Gah. Right, here we go. It's nice width on that, isn't it? So it
Tightly
is.
sex tape.
I mean, this is a 25-minute long video. We're not going to go through the whole thing, but I just thought I'd play a little opening clip, and I suggest that you go and watch Ernesto demonstrate this, because he goes through and it's just very calm, goes through it all, and and it's just it's a really, really nice thing. So there we go. That's a small demo of the GSE7. Let me just bring up the website and we can have a closer look at the thing itself. So here we go. Right.
You can get it in different colours, can't you?
You can, yeah. It's so here you go. This is what it looks like. It's a tabletop synthesizer. It has something of like, it's almost like a MiniMoog and a Prophet kind of had some hanky panky, and this kind of came out because it's got that feel to it. But then that's the classic feel, isn't it? Oscillator, mixer, filter. That whole MiniMoog paradigm, it still lives on to this day. And there you go. So it's a lovely, lovely thing. It's a subtractive polyphonic analog synthesizer, 7-note polyphony, which I'm not against. It's just like last year or the year before, we were complaining that the Arturia Polybrute only had 6 voices. And then along comes the Prophet with 5, and nobody bats an eyelid. Now we've got 7. I have no idea why it's 7, but it is also 4-part multi-timbral. 2 VCO with sub-oscillators, hard sync, lots of waveforms, 24 dB per octave low-pass filter, 4-pole with resonance control. And you can read all that thing. It's a very well specified piece of equipment, and certainly the demonstrations I've heard so far make it sound very good. And of course, it is made in Buenos Aires in Argentina. And I was just looking for the price. Let's see. It just says now available. Here we go.
1,500, I think.
There you go. And here it is. So as you said, you can get it in black, blue, grey. Is there something, Dina might be able to back me up on this, is there something very ARP-esque about these colours? Because, you had the black, you had the blue, Blue Marvin?
Yeah.
And then there was a grey one as well, wasn't there?
Grey me.
And, of course, there's a red one.
EMU modular, doesn't it?
Yeah, of course, there's that as well, yeah. But, I don't know, $1,500 US. So what's that going to be in UK? That's about 1,200 ish, current exchange rates, for a 7-voice, fully analog polyphonic synthesizer. I don't know about you guys, but
well, it seems great.
Seems rather good value for money.
I looked at the form factor of it and I thought, I reckon that's rack mountable like that. There'll be some sort of kit available for that, I reckon, because then it fits straight into what I like in here. But I looked at the dimensions. The PDF manuals don't download on the website as well, neither of them.
Okay.
I was willing to try and attempt the Spanish one to see if you could rack mount it, but that wouldn't download either, so both manuals are offline. The dimensions of it are like 20-inch.
So it's a little bit too...
I don't know if that's them wooden end cheeks, and if you took them off, it would fit in. I don't know.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It seems they've missed a trick there if they've just gone slightly too big with it.
If that's the case, that's interesting. Yeah.
At that price, 500 quid or whatever it is, it's getting to be quite a crowded market out there. What's it? Because I did listen through to a lot of the demos, and I was listening, going, it sounds very nice. Would I buy it? What's it going to add to all the the synth, the Novation Peak, the Hydra synths? I mean, I know it's analog, so okay, there's a bunch of stuff out there. I'm trying to work out why I would buy it, and I'd love it because it's analog. It's analog.
Yeah, absolutely. All hail.
Yeah.
I was trying to work out where it fitted into sonically, where it would fit into everything else.
Well, the first thing that jumped out at me was it's 4-part multi-timbral, and if you look at like the Prophet 5 Rev 4, that's bi-timbral. Something we're going to be talking about a little later on is going to be bi-timbral. Polybrute is bi-timbral in a special kind of way. 4-part multi-timbrality in a polyphonic analog. I'm not saying it's not been done, but it's not common these days, certainly for $1,500. That was the first thing that kind of jumped out at me. Then there was the fact that it is fully compatible with MPE polyphonic expression. So again, that's something that is good to have these days. It's got all the connectivity, so it's got MIDI DIN, it's got USB, it's got CV, external inputs and audio outputs, and all of that stuff. Yeah, so it seems like a very well specified synth. And I think maybe for me the thing was the fact that you can play 4 parts and have MPE in a $1,500.
Yeah, the MPE is a good touch. Yeah.
It is. That is. Yeah, that's a really good.
So I think, and
4-part multi-timbral, but it's 7 voice.
Yeah, I see. This is where I thought if they'd gone 8 voices, I could understand, because you could have, maybe 2 or 3 of those as monophonic, and the rest you could do your little chords on.
So it's essentially it's an art quadra.
Yeah, kind of. So. But I must admit, the one I liked the look of was the Zeus.
Zeus. Yes. Yes. Yeah.
That was the one that made me go, ooh, hello.
Where's that then?
That's, have a look up at products, but it's under the, I think it's the prototypes or something.
Oh, okay.
But there is a physical version of it, because there's actual videos of her running.
Okay, because I can see the Apollo.
Yeah.
But I can't see the Zeus, but maybe it's...
No, if you go, I think you have to do it from their site, I think, directly, isn't it?
This is their site.
This is their site, isn't it?
Unless this is the shop, isn't it? So,
yeah.
Okay.
Because even I can't remember the bloody website name.
Why don't you just type it in the search bar there?
I found it.
Because that would just be 2 blooming easy. There you go. Prototypes. There we go. Zeus.
Oh.
Yeah.
That looks a bit like Cherry Audio's Dream Synth.
Scroll down. There she is.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
The hardware version of Cherry Audio's Dream Synth.
There you go.
Kind of, isn't it? Yeah, look at that. Wow.
It's cool.
And that's a prototype.
Yeah.
I like that. I love discovering new stuff, and this is amazing. And I love the panel. The fact that you can lift the panel up, which
the form factor is so much to do with these things. How you can get to them and interact. Yeah, that's everything.
Yeah, they're definitely a company that's going somewhere, because they've already stopped manufacturing 1 and moved on to a Mark II, which is a company that's going places.
It's 49 keys with aftertouch, 12-note polyphony, 2 analog VCOs, similar that way to the GSE7. But that looks amazing.
Yeah.
That looks very nice. Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that one for sure.
Good.
Anybody else got anything to say about the GSE7?
I'm actually kind of with Andrew on this, because I'm thinking the actual elements of this fall into the same category of so many other machines in that price range. It's a 4-pole low-pass filter, blah, blah, blah. And it's sort of like, it's all sort of like tick the boxes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it's sort of like, there's then a whole list of other machines that all fall into that category as well at that price range. So it's just I don't know. Just go, I like the idea of having one sitting on the desk and sort of thing. Then fine, there you go, have that. But do you know what I mean? There's nothing. It's very, very nice. It sounds very, very nice, but there's nothing that sort of like leaps out and slaps you in the face about it, if you know what I mean.
I was thinking similar, really. It was like I thought when I was watching the demos, I'm going to say the B word again, but I thought I reckon I could do most of this on my DeepMind. It's like it's not as good quality, but it sounds similar.
Yeah. So I wanted to play a demo of this Zeus, but it's like all the demos are cover versions.
Cover versions, yeah.
And we'll get slapped down. Although I haven't listened to them, so I'm not going to do it. But go ahead and go to gsmusic.com.ar and you'll be able to listen to those. And I'm going to listen to those after the show when we're off air. But yeah, GS Music, GSE7, and of course now we've got the Zeus prototype, which we'll definitely keep tabs on these guys for sure.
What you could do, Rob, is you could listen to the demo yourself and then give us a club-style rendition of the cover.
Womp, 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 womp,
Yeah.
womp. Yeah, I could do that.
Ben can do the boots and cats and boots and cats.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which Don was doing to great
I'm
effect
not
last
very
night.
good. I'm not very good at keeping time. I'm better at not doing that bit.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Anyway, that's GS Music from
Dom's
Argentina.
super rhythm. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. GS Music from Argentina with the GSE7 desktop polyphonic analog synth, and now we've just discovered the Zeus, which we shall keep on. Let's have a look at another piece of hardware. This piece of hardware, I've kind of made myself a rule not to talk or not to bring topics on when something doesn't exist, because it's just no point talking about something that clearly could change into something completely different.
Vaporware,
Yeah. However, when something this cool comes up, I kind of have to make an exception. And this, there's a guy, I think he's in Sweden. I think it's Sweden, who does these amazing recreations. So he takes a synthesizer, takes away all of the outer casing, and then builds a new really stylish casing and puts the innards in. I'm sure somebody in the chat will remind me of their name. It often gets ripped off by some of these Facebook things.
Rob Harris.
No. That's this guy.
Sorry.
This is there's another guy that does this. You just spot the surprise. God, damn it.
Sorry.
No, you're right.
Sorry,
That's fine.
Martin Walker from Sound, he does the Sound
Oh,
on
yes.
Sound stuff. He does a lot of steampunk, so he takes synthesizers and he just does a similar kind of thing, which I'm always fascinated by. I love what he does.
Yeah. I'm sure, like Wagyu, I'm sure you know, there's a guy, is it Hull, H-U-L something? But they do these amazing kind of redesigns. But this is similar to that, but this is actually a genuinely brand new concept, except it doesn't exist. So let's have a look at this, because this is rather beautiful. This is Rob Harris, who is a designer who has worked with a number of companies here in the UK, and his latest concept is this kind of fold away little mini modular synth that's in the West Coast style, as they say, and it doesn't have a traditional Western piano style keyboard. It has these kind of touch elements. I'm not sure there was a picture. There we go. There's the top down there.
So it's a booklet.
Yeah, it's kind of like a booklet sort of thing, but it comes in two halves, and I think it's hinged in the middle. It has a little carrying handle, and you can do your little patching on there, which is all very cute and stuff. Let's bring that full screen there. This doesn't exist. This is a computer render, but I just thought this looked rather cool, and it would be interesting to see if somebody would be brave enough to make this. It's kind of, I guess it goes down that Holton stroke teenage engineering kind of route. But a little sequencer, a little dual oscillator and a gate and some motion in there, and it looks quite cool. I don't know what you guys thought of that.
I thought it looked great. It looked really good. I love the design of it. He's very, very talented guy. It looks like something like Axel Hartman could put together.
It does have
it's
that about
really
it.
nice. Yeah. It'd be great for it to make it to an actual physical product, because I think a lot of people would like it, but it'd probably be mega expensive though.
It does. It has the boutique-y feel about it.
Yeah.
I just thought it was a nice, interesting thing.
It's late 60s oscilloscope kind of vibe going on.
Yeah, it does. It's that sort of a scientific equipment
It's that
type thing.
early Braun look, isn't it? The Apple-based,
Blake
all their
7.
early products.
Yeah.
Blake 7
Blake
ORAC.
7 synthesis. It's a Blake 7 transporter unit.
It's the ORAC.
ORAC, yeah.
It is the ORAC.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's such a nice design. It would just be interesting. I don't know if he is asking for people. He says in the website there that if you have any ideas about making this thing a reality, to get in touch. I was looking at his bio. He's a designer, in industrial design, so very much of the Axel Hartman kind of school, I would say. And his history is actually, I don't know if you have these anywhere outside of the UK, but there's a company here in the UK called G-Tech, and they do these kind of very cool styled, almost a lot of them are cordless products, like a cordless lawnmower and a cordless vacuum cleaner and various other things, and they're all very nicely designed, very modern sort of design. And he's the guy behind that, and he's now kind of branched out on his own to do stuff like this. So I just thought it was a really nice little thing.
I'm still trying to find the other guy. You know, the
Halton. I think somebody has.
They said, yeah.
Yeah. He posts a lot of his stuff on Instagram, and it's so beautiful, the design and the construction. But they're like one-offs, so he'll do. They are very much art pieces and kind of commissions.
I mean, I've got to say, looking at it, it looks okay. It's a very pretty thing. I'm not sure how useful it would be. I'm trying to think how I would use that. And if I'm going to do that, I can go and get. Again, I can go and buy a small little mini rack, or I can do it with a poly or a mini brute, or not mini brute, but there's lots of things already. It looks very pretty. Is it a triumph of design over functionality?
Could be.
And it looks okay. I'm not sure I'd ever use it. I'm trying. I'd love to see. I'd love to understand more about it, but. It doesn't really. It reminds me too much of a transistor radio.
Yes.
Kind of thing you used to take with you. It's that kind of size.
Especially when it's shut.
Yeah, like a little lunchbox.
Like one.
Yeah. But no, I mean, we'll keep an eye on it, and if it does, become something, we'll certainly bring it up on the show. So there you go. That is Opto, which is this West Coast style portable modular synthesizer concept. This doesn't exist over at roberisdesign.com. So if you think you could have some positive feedback, he's asking for it. So do let him know. Right, couple more things before we get into our guest. This one, easy. This has been around for a while, but it's just had a significant update. This is the strangely named PaulXStretch, which is back with a new version. It's multi-platform, it's open source, it's completely free of charge, and it can take your audio and do amazing things with it using time stretching. It's primarily billed as something where you can create continuously evolving ambient soundscapes that last hours and days. It is not a traditional effect by any stretch of the imagination, and there's very little information on its website. And some of the demonstration videos weren't that great, so I wasn't going to go into them. But yeah, it's a free tool, and it's one of these things you can just like download and try and see what you can come up with. I did download it, and I did a Ben. I downloaded it, but I didn't use it. So I'm hoping that maybe one of you did.
I did download it, and I did use it. So it's pretty good. Yeah, it's. At first, I put I've said Phil's been writing loads of songs. I put one of his songs in it, and it ended up 4 hours long. It was like I exported it, and it was 4 hours long. Wow. It sounded great, but I didn't realise the file was going to be so big. So I put a little vocal sample in it the next time I messed with it, and that turned out to be something like 5 minutes long, 5.5 minutes long, from a little 4-bar phrase. And but the possibilities with it are just incredible. It's like extreme time stretching. It's not like you would do in your normal production. You need this like a little bit faster or a little bit slower. It mangles it to death as soon as you put it through it. It's like you can't really recognize the sample once it goes in, but it creates these like wonderful evolving soundscapes that you can add harmonics to. You can keep adding to the amount of harmonics or take them away, and it comes as a VST instrument as well. So you could have this in your DAW and actually be automating these changes. Of more harmonics getting. So if you had it as a pad in the background, there'd be more harmonics getting added to it. There'd be different frequencies that you can push and pull out, like a bit of like a drawbar kind of system, and it's got filtering as well. The things that I got out of it without not knowing what I was doing at all were really good. It was like they're usable, these, and you can export easily enough. You could just drag sections of what you've exported into a sample track and use it that way as well, to make more percussive sounds from these weird stretched out creations that this has come up with. It's free, and I think everybody should get it, just because it might spark an idea off you in you that wasn't there before. You hear things in these really slowed down things. It can be quite inspirational, and then when you start adding more harmonic content to it, you hear even more, and you are like just emulating what you're hearing, but nobody else has probably heard that before. Just use it. It's great.
Andrew, any?
Yeah, I've used this before in the past, and it's the kind of tool that just occasionally it comes up with something that you can use as the base. I've used it on some TV, soundtracky things and whatever. It just gives you an interesting starting point, but it's a tool. It's kind of, it's not exactly a one-trick pony, because it changes depending on what you're doing with it. But it is a bit, and it kind of. I'm always not hesitant. It's free. Everyone should download it. Ben's quite right. Everyone should download it and play with it. And we'll end up with a lot of tracks all sort of sounding very, very. It did remind me. It did remind me of one of the bits in My Fair Lady. Ow. But it is quite haunting, and I think what's really good about it is the way it's smoothed as it's stretching is quite haunting. It makes it actually work, whereas normal time stretch doesn't quite do that. So I think it's interesting. I'm just going back to reversing samples again, sampling stuff again for the first time in years. I'm going out with microphones and sampling shite, and then turning it around and beat munging it and doing all sorts of stuff. But hey, listen, if it gets your creative juices going and it's free, why wouldn't you? Absolutely. And it sounds. Ben's right. It sounds really good. It does sound good.
Any thoughts on this one, Ken?
Yeah, I downloaded this. I put. I'm going to say this wrong, and Davey's going to punch me in the ear on Monday. GeForce Software's Mellotron 2. I took a sample from that and bunged it in it, but I'd already slowed the Mellotron down to 5 beats per minute, and then sampled that, and then put it in, and then stretched it even more. And it was. There were sections of it went. I'll cut that section. I'll have that section. That's good. I like that particular bit. And I can lump that in, and then I put a couple of chords over it. And look at me, I'm Tangerine Dream, man. And and it was like, bim, sorted. And so I bunged the bloke 20 quid because he's got a little donate thing down the bottom. I thought, come on, you've been up all night writing this. Here's a few quid. Go and buy yourself a beer.
Very nice.
So,
cool. Well,
I love I think the best thing about it is it's open source.
Yes.
So you can start tinkering with the code if that's your particular thing. Start tinkering with the code. I think there's going to be if people start playing around with this some more. I think there's going to be some really interesting things come out of that. I think there's going to be some really interesting tools come out of it. So watch this space. Watch this space.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Oh, excuse me, windy pops. Right, so that's PaulXStretch from Sonosaurus.com, and apparently it's called PaulXStretch because it's based on an algorithm called Paul's Extreme Time Stretch, developed by somebody called Nazca Octavian Paul. Who knew?
Right,
There you go.
I think that cost me about 10 quid.
So, PaulXStretch. Two more things to talk about. I'm saving the best till last.
Good man.
But
I've got to go. My mum's rung.
Oh, shut up. This is new from IK Multimedia, and I thought this was quite interesting. This is the iRig Pro Quattro IO, which is a portable audio interface with 4 inputs, field recording. It's got a built-in mixer. There is a standard version and a pro version with extra inputs. for a start, it looks a lovely piece of kit. It's kind of got that big kind of black chunky feel to it. It can be powered via USB, via mains, and also via battery, so all of the options are covered there. These nice big 4-round dials, your mixers there, lots of inputs, microphone and instrument, combined XLR and TRS stuff there. There's a host port there as well. There is side mounted inputs and line inputs and XLR outputs and MIDI in and all sorts of stuff going on here. It's a cracking piece of kit. They're saying that it's usable for pretty much everything. Mobile field recording, mixing audio into a digital SLR or into a laptop or an iPad or an iPhone. Lots of different uses for it. Seems quite compact. And so there is a pro version as well as a standard version. The deluxe version, not the pro version. The deluxe version gets you some additional features. In addition to the pair of mics, you'll get an optional power supply. You also get custom carrying cases and all that kind of stuff as well. So everything's stored on storage SSD cards. And also comes with a whole bunch of plugins as well from IK Multimedia's extensive collection there. Starts at €349.99, which, in the grand scheme of things, for a 2496 audio interface with all of that kind of connectivity and portability, is not too bad at all, I don't think.
I love this.
Yeah.
I love it.
Tell us.
This is really smart design. And for I do all sorts of stuff from video. So for video, for having it as a mic mixer for a shoot, where you've just got 3 or 4 mics, and the fact that it's got some really clever touches. So you can just plug in 2 mics and then dupe those mics to the other 2 channels, 3 and 4, and it will automatically dupe them. You can set it up so it dupes them and takes the level down by to minus 12. So if someone just suddenly shouts like a dick on set, like people do, but you really, really need that sound, and instead of it, peaking out and having digital distortion, you've got another version of it which won't. That's clever. That's smart. And the fact that you can control it from one of these, whether it's an iPhone or an Android, you can record direct to these, or you can record into the camera. It's just really well thought through, and it looks like it's got enough inputs and outputs to make a really useful piece of kit. And guess what? I'm going to buy one. I'm going to have one of those. That's something which is going to get bought probably early next week. It's a really good device. Really, really good. Yeah,
absolutely. Gentlemen, Ben,
I like it. Yeah, I bought. It seems for like the multimedia production side of things, that's brilliant. I bought like a Tascam thing that bolts onto the top of your camera, because this is part of what I do in my day job, the marketing side of things and that. So I bought one of them, but this seems much better value for money because it's versatile. The only thing for me personally, if I was buying something like this, I'd probably go for the sample trek over this, because I know it's a different thing. This is more geared to pro audio, I think, with the types of connectors and the functions on it and that, whereas a sample trek is more musicians, like it's a more of a musical thing, and it'd be that reason really that I'd want it. But I just look at that and think, well, if I've got 350 quid, I'm gonna buy something that will do a bit more as well, and the sample trek does that with its sample sequencing and other stuff. So that's I think it's a brilliant product, and if you've got no interest in that, then this is fantastic. But for me personally, I think I'd probably go with Sonic Ware's offering.
Yeah, no, it's horses for courses at the end of the day, isn't it? Kent, any thoughts on this one before we move to the last news item and then?
Well, no, not massively, because as an agoraphobic, this is a chocolate teapot, isn't it, really? It's a cordless extension cable. For me.
It is. It's a professional front end. It's some really good I/O to stick in front of either your iPhone or your camera or your Android or your desktop. that's really portable. And,
Yeah,
you know,
it looks like high quality stuff.
They've been doing stuff like this with, iPads and iPhones and other phones in mind, and the reason that Apple picked them many years ago was kind of the one that they always recommend. Whatever that's, they endorsed them, didn't they, many years ago, and they've kind of come on leaps and bounds. So they've been doing this for a long, long time, and they've got a lot of experience. So there's no reason why this shouldn't be as good as anything else that they've done in the range. So that is the iRig Pro Quattro IO. It starts from €349.99 for the different packages that you can have with a few extra bits and bobs thrown in. Last piece of news, which is I've saved this one till last because it is rather exciting. So just the other day, through a number of different websites, I don't know exactly where it started. I think it might have been synthesizers.de forum. But these images leaked, especially this one. Mr. Tom Oberheim sat next to what is billed as the OB-X8. And as you can see from the rear there, it's fully modern. It's got USB and regular MIDI and inputs and outputs and all sorts. And it does look, although these pictures are slightly fuzzy, it does look the dog's leathery bits.
When you say it's modern, I notice it's a USB-A plug on it.
Yes, it's better than micro USB, let's be honest.
Yeah. Can we have the round of applause sound effect while we're looking at this picture?
Yeah, of course we can. There we go. Yeah. Welcome back, Tom Oberheim. That's all I can say. So our friends over at Gear News, Robin Vincent and the team over there, are amongst a number of websites that were featuring this, and I'm just going to use Gear News here. But there's been no official announcement, but I believe it is to be forthcoming. Let me just get rid of that. Okay, so the specifications: 8-voice, analog, sine, saw, square, triangle, and noise. 2 discrete SEM/stroke OBX lineage VCOs per voice, delivering the classic punchy Oberheim tone. Discrete SEM lineage VCFs. My mouth isn't working. Sorry. Deliver authentic OBX style tone and process. So on. Genuine Curtis filters. Meticulously modelled envelope responses matching the OB-X, the OB-X8, and the OB-8. The 61 key for tar, velocity, and touch sensitive keyboard. Bitimbral capability. 400 plus presets built in. Integral fanless heatsink free power supply. Real walnut and end cheeks, because everybody knows that walnut end cheeks make it sound more analog. High resolution OLED display. Classic Oberheim pitch and mod levers. And so on and so forth. The specs are out there now, and we're just waiting for something official. It's supposed to be released in June with an MSRP of $5,000, which I think for Tom Oberheim's proper comeback synth is and for those specifications is not too awful. It's certainly going to be out of the reach of most of us, but it's not too awful. You know that the quality's there. And there goes Kent's doorbell. All 4 of them.
Yeah.
So who wants to go first? Kent, let's go to you, because he's put himself on mute.
Yeah, because I muted myself because of the doorbell.
I'll tell you what, let's go to Ben first then.
Go to Ben.
We'll let the thing calm down. So Ben, have you got the OB-6?
No, I got the Prophet 6. It was Chris that got the OB-6.
Yes.
But he always said that the oscillators were nicer and fatter in that than because they're very similar, the Prophet 6 and the OB-6, but it's got like a much fatter tone. This is just the best news I've heard in years. It's great that Tom has got his name back. He's got his logo back. It's great that he's working with Dave Smith. The OB-6 was good, but it didn't have the Oberheim logo on it, and it doesn't quite feel like an Oberheim synth. This is branded up OBX 8 voice. What more do you want? It's just, and it works out at like 4,000 British pounds. for just over $4,000. So
unless they do that horrible thing where they sell it for the same numbers, UK and US,
they might do actually. But I'd probably if I had the money, I'd buy it. I'm wondering what I can sell. I've got a couple of cats. Got a telly. Got a telly in the living room. Yeah. There's a few that I could sell me clothes. I'd get something for them. So I'd just be walking around naked with no telly and no cats.
But I
would have an OB-X8.
Oh no, we'll donate the money.
Start a fund. Start a fund.
Yeah, but it's just the best synth news ever. That and I was getting excited about the Juno X, but it's gone a little bit into the shadows now with this. This
so the question
looming,
is, would you prefer this OB-X8 over the Prophet 5 Rev 4?
Yeah, I think I would. Me personally, because I've got the Prophet 6, I've always wanted an OB-X, partly due to Mick McNeil.
Mick McNeil, yeah.
Yeah, and I will get one of these. I know I will. I'll do something and get one.
Yeah.
Sell me van.
It would be nice to get Mick back on the show and get his thoughts on this.
Yeah.
Kent, is this another one that you're going to go at last? They're going to buy this one instead of investing in the old ones, and I won't have to worry about fixing them again. Or
yeah, but I mean, it's like that. Like we were getting into last night on the other show, wasn't it? We were talking about is it an OB-X or is it an OB-X8 or is it an OB-8 or is it all three? But then can it be all three? If it's using a Curtis filter, then it can't be an OB-X, etc. etc. So it's an Oberheim, and that's it's an 8-voice Oberheim.
I mean,
it comes with the presets of all three synths, doesn't it?
Actually, it also comes with OBSX, OBX, OBSX, OBX8, and OB8 presets.
Right. Yeah.
Now the questions I'd love to ask, but there's nobody to answer. Is the resonance screaming like it did on the OB-X that was almost non-existent on the OB-8?
Right.
Little things like that. So is that how they're going to get towards sounding like an OB-X, for instance, by being able to crank a bugger up? But it's so good to see Tom back.
Yes.
Doing this. I know there's a lot of people saying 5,000. And you go, no, that's not really that bad, actually.
No, not for that.
Considering, I mean, all things considered.
Mm-hmm.
So the old ones are trading for slightly more than that, aren't they?
Yeah. Definitely. Andrew, any thoughts on this one? Are you interested?
I'm curiously torn. I love Tom. I love this. When I started out in the industry and I had my first studios, I mean, I was hiring CS80s, and when it just got to the point where my back wouldn't allow me to keep carrying things around, I discovered the Oberheims, and I'd like the OB1 from the get-go, going into shops and playing the OB1 and go, I want it. It just had a sound to it. And then the OB8, and then the OB-X, and then the OB-X8, and they just had a sound to them that you could make them sit in anything, right? You can make them sit in anything. And there is a sound that is entirely Tom's sound, and I adore it. I love it. I really, really love it. Like the 80. There's a really unique sound that is so characterful. It's just beautiful. I think with this version, it's $5,000, and I'm thinking, what's the only thing that none of the others had aside from the filters and everything? And it's the MPE. It's the polyphonic aftertouch. That would be the icing on the cake if it had polyphonic aftertouch. Do you know what? It would be in a heartbeat. But the fact that it doesn't, and I'm just thinking, why haven't they done that when it was, that's everyone's talking about that. It's something, and maybe they will, but if it had that in a heartbeat, an OB-X8 with polyphonic aftertouch, Well,
possibly
God, that would be
receive
wonderful.
it. Possibly receive it.
Yeah, it could.
Possibly.
And
play
in which
say,
case my
Because
KX
everybody has a hydrosynth, apart from Robbie. So,
Sorry, I'm going to have to do this. Boring now.
yeah.
But no,
No,
yeah,
it's not. It's still got miles in it.
yeah. But I mean, this is just. How long? It wasn't that long ago. Nobody was making polyphonic analogues.
I'm
real
muted here
good
talking away. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
Right, Robbie keeps talking over me. What's going on here?
Welcome back.
Welcome back into the room, man. I'll finish what I'm saying. So I was saying we didn't have anything, and then all of a sudden there's Prophet 5 Rev 4s, there's Arturia Polybrutes, there's this new OB-X, there's the stuff from Argentina. We're getting back into polyphonic analogues, and that can't be a bad thing.
It's
It
great.
can't be,
Genuine.
but it's the polyphonic analogs have been around for a while. They're coming back. It's kind of what's the new things about them that make them compelling, and it's performance.
Yes,
with all
yeah.
with all of it, it's the performance, the articulation of those sounds. So MPE for me is a bit of a. I'm just really puzzled why that wasn't. Maybe it is included. We haven't seen it yet, but I hope it is. If it is, it's a killer product.
Yeah.
I'd want one. I'd want one.
I think it will do well because, I mean, if you're in the market for an OB-X, they change hands for about 8.5K. So you're going to get access to it for nearly half.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
it's newer and it's got
new,
USB and it's got MIDI and
Yeah.
and it's not going to blow up or catch fire when you look away and all that sort of stuff that the old ones tend to do. So
Yeah,
I think
and again, it's following in the steps of the Prophet 5 and the Polybrute in that it is by Timbrel as well. So you can stack things together, and that's going to be quite very exciting. And just waiting for an official announcement. But this isn't a Photoshop. That is not a Photoshop. That is Tom Oberheim next to a brand new Oberheim synth. It is going to happen. We just need to know when. And
The
where.
only thing I'm not keen on is the way that they've lobbed the back end off. I love
because
that
it had
that
the
little shelf on the top
thing,
for
putting
a mono synth on and
your
stuff.
coffee.
Your
Yeah,
coffee.
yeah.
No, I think
Your manual.
I'm getting a sense that we might hear something about this next week at Super Booth.
Yeah.
Something official there. Talking of
Pretty
which,
great,
of course,
yeah.
Super Booth is happening next week, which would be a fantastic thing to watch out for. And maybe next year we can get along. We do a Pro Synth Network thing. We're going to start this year with stuff in the UK, but next year maybe we'll do something. A PSN trip to Super Booth or NAM. That would be cool. Now that we can travel a bit more.
To Vietnam. Oh, wonderful.
Vietnam, yes, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Inky's just asked in the chat if the OB-X8 has effects built in, because the others. Oh no, the Prophets don't, do they?
No, the Prophets
No.
don't, but the Polybrute does.
Yeah, it probably won't have. Yeah.
Enhancement. So let's have a look here.
I wonder if they do a version of it without the walnut end cheeks. That's only 3,500.
Yes, quite.
Sasquatch said, is Tom Oberheim responsible for crashing the vintage Oberheim prices? Well, I think he might be, and a certain other company that we've been talking about earlier may also be.
And yes, isn't it nice to actually see Tom getting his thing out first?
Oh, I tell you, does a lot of the appeal of the UBX has disappeared upon looking at this picture?
I mean, obviously there's going to be a massive price difference, and
Yeah.
who knows what else kind of difference. We have to wait and see to when these things are both out in the wild. But people were. I think a lot of people were looking at the UBXA, thinking, well, I can't get a brand new one of these, and so that's what I'll go for. Well, now you can. If you save your pennies up a little bit, you can. But hey, again, at the end of the day, there's something for everyone, and whatever price point you want to come in at. There you go. Anyway, so that is Tom Oberheim is back, as we know, but he's now back with a piece of hardware called the OB-X8. Let the angels sing. I haven't got a fanfare on here, but we'll do this again just because we can.
Hey.
Nice one,
Go for
Tom.
it, Tom. And
Good
if you
to see
ever
him
want to
back.
come
And-
on, if you ever want to come on and
Tom,
chat, like, you know.
if you're watching,
Tom.
have your
Get
people
Dave
call
to
my
come
people.
on as well. Get
Yeah.
Dave
We
to
know.
come.
We know people.
Both Daves.
Yeah, we know
know
people.
people.
Indeed.
Yeah, we
So
do.
there you go. That's Oberheim OB-X8. It'll be. I'm sure it'll be in that super booth, but that means we'll probably be talking about it again next week. But hey, I'm quite happy with that. Anyway, we're fast kind of getting into the show, but we haven't spoken to our illustrious guest. So yes, he's there. Andrew Longhurst. You sent me your CV, which I've now completely lost, but it was
Good.
huge. It was huge.
You
it
can't
was
hold a
just,
job down for more than 5 minutes. I don't know.
well, no, I mean, you've worked in recording studios as a producer, as an engineer, as a musician. You have worked for companies such as Emu. You have set up your own businesses in the field of audio, visual, e-learning, all of these kind of things. You've had your fingers in many, many pies. So tell us, how did it all start for you? How did this whole music technology thing start for Andrew Longhurst?
Okay, so here's a confession.
Spotlight, go on then.
It started with me being 15 years old, sitting. There's a group of us friends that used to hang around, and I wasn't windswept and interesting, which is a great shame. And I thought the way to be windswept and interesting when I was 15 was to sit in a chair and do air keyboard solos by Rick Wakeman or Keith Emerson. And I couldn't play. I hadn't played a note in my life. But I'd sit there and do this, doing that sort of thing. And I thought one day, you know what, perhaps I ought to actually get one. And of course, it didn't make me windswept and interesting. But I still, and I would wander around the shops and do these things. And I think I was just fascinated. So going back a bit, my mother was passionate about music, and she would play old vinyl records or whatever of things like the great shows of the time, South Sea Pacific, Sound of Music, that kind of thing. And then she'd also put on all the classics, lots and lots of stuff, Peter and the Wolf, the 1812, all the Pastoral Symphony. And while she was doing this, I must have been about 4 or 5 at the time, she used to tell us the stories about it. I think my brother may be watching this, Paul, if he is, hello. So she used to tell stories with this thing. So music became very visual, very, very visual for me very early on. So as I got older and I heard the synthesizer, I was kind of interested in pop music, but it was the sound of things. It was that. It was that sonic array that orchestral had that pop music was missing. And then it got more and more, so it went further down this thing. And then the synthesizer, I think I heard Three Dog Night, or was it Three Dog Night? And the Beatles, of course, with Abbey Road, with the synth in there. And it was just, it was an aside almost, but it cemented parts of that album in a way that nothing else could. And I was fascinated, and I needed to know more. So when Electronic Musician, which we all read when we were young bucks, came out with a particular issue, which I think Tim Orr designed a monophonic synth for them called the Transcendent 2000.
Yep.
Yeah.
I found a way to persuade my mum or someone or the bank to lend me the £199.99 to send off for this thing. And I got it through and I built it, and it didn't work because I eventually realized I'm a really dreadful electrical bod. But I was working for Standard Telephones and Cables at the time, and guess what? They had lots of people that were doing things with assembly boards.
Yeah.
So I gave it all to one of them and said, that! And I think it cost me 30 quid for him to do it. And I got this single oscillator with pulse width modulation, almost falling apart, shitty Transcendent 2000, and I loved it. I loved it, and I started playing around with it, and so I learned. I started playing monosynth before I played almost anything else, and it was astonishing that when then someone gave me a bucket brigade delay thing, a really cheap Colesborough, I think, thing, and something else, and suddenly I'm hearing all these sounds and the way it can do this stuff. I thought, oh, this is kind of good. This is kind of interesting, and I just when I at the time back in the 70s, going into the 80s. There was lots of work around. You could kind of get yourself sacked, which happened probably more than it should have done, because I didn't know what I want to do, And so I was working in factories, and I was working in all sorts of different things. And the money I made, I would spend on hiring synthesizers to try them out. MiniMoogs, then the PolyMoog, the CS80s, everything. I would hire anything new that came out and just play around with it and get a sense of what it was. And then some years later, I worked with a guy called Graham, who had his own business in the City of London doing third-party industrial debt collection. Yeah, interesting stuff. But it was from one company to another. And one of their clients, he needed a hand, and I helped out for a while. And one of his clients was a company called Easy Studios, or in fact they were called Easy Rehearsals, I think, and it was a rehearsal rooms which and or a musical instrument hire company that rented this stuff out, and somehow or another he ended up buying this place, and one day he gave me a call and said, look, I need a bit of a hand with the accounts, and some of people owe us a lot of money, and so I went in and started helping with that, and started going out to help people that were very famous pay some of the money back that they owed. But it was all very nice. It was going to studios and things. I was just kind of, wow, I love this 24-track studio, and wow, this is good. And then one day, Tom Newman turned up.
I know Tom.
The producer, Tom's a lovely guy. He turned up in his shitty old van with a 4-track, he actually had. I think he actually had the MM1100, the Ampex MM1100 tape machine, which he bought from Mike Oldfield. Yeah, they bought it in for the. He bought it in. Mike had bought it in for the Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Elizabeth Second Hall concert, and they bought it in a few days before, plugged it in, and they hadn't changed the voltage, so it killed it.
Oh no!
Right, it killed it, and it got rebuilt. And so Tom had this thing, and he turned up one day. I can't remember exactly why. He was doing something, but he and Graham agreed that it would be a really good idea to turn some of this rehearsal rooms into a recording studio. And so they started building one. And I just remember one day I was there doing something on the phone, and they were bringing up an RSJ, and they said, "Oh, can you give us a hand? You're strong." So I gave them a hand with an RSJ and then some cement, and all of a sudden I was doing this full time, building a studio. And I knew nothing about it. And then the day it opened, the guy that was supposed to be there, being the assistant engineer for Tom, didn't turn up, and I was there. And it just so happened I'd hired an awful lot of synths in that time, and it was just at the point when MIDI was starting. So. And Easy had a collection of synths that they still used to hire out, everything from, Oberheims and God knows what else, but 2600s, that kind of stuff. And MIDI was born, and I just understood it straight away. And no one else did. So I was a terrible engineer to start out with. Tom, I remember Tom said, "Here you go. Here's a mix. Here's a board with the thing. Do a mix and bring it up to the pub to me, and I'll tell you what I think." And I remember I'd spent hours on this thing, and I took it up to on a cassette and said, "Here you go, Tom. It's brilliant." And it just had a lot of Ursa Major space station reverb all over it. And it was muddy. And you couldn't hear the vocals, and nothing was placed. It was just everything was up full blast, and with lots of reverb. And that was kind of how it started. He then took me under his wing and said, "Well, maybe you ought to blah blah blah." And it kind of went on from there. You know, I just got involved in the music industry. And I think it was around about that time the Emulator 1 had come out and no one understood it, and we hired one in. And I just said, I've got to have this. And Advanced Sounds were selling one because they had one surplus to stock, so I bought one. I think my girlfriend at the time had come into some money, so we bought one. And because I had one, people were beating my door down.
Yeah.
And one of the people beating my door down owned a studio down in London, in the city of London, called Heartbeat Studios, in the basement of this building. And he said, "Do you want to be partners?" And it was because I had an emulator sampler.
Yeah, see.
That was it.
Opens
So
the
we kind of started there, and then we went on to partner. We moved on to CMS, Chelsea Music Studios, right next door to Snake Ranch. You know, Hans and Mel Wesson and all those guys. Well, Hans, to be honest. And just kind of it kept on, you know, sort of growing and doing more and more sessions all over the place. And I was kind of learning as I was going. And I wasn't terribly good to start off with, and I got better. You know, that's kind of how it started. But so along the way, when we were at Heartbeat Studios, one of my old pals I've known since I was a child was in multimedia. He was working for Atari, and I think he was one of their senior dogs, you know, VP in charge of software development or something for them, for Atari in the States. And he somehow got involved with Sony, who were doing the very first multimedia project, multimedia on CD-ROM X8. They were doing the very first thing that was using a CD to do both video and audio and that kind of stuff. And I remember we did a test thing for them for a game called Hobgoblin, where we were using the harmonizers, we were using the sampler, turning stuff back to front, round, you know, doing all sorts of stuff. We detuned a chicken down an octave or a couple of octaves to make it sound like a monster, and it did. It was great. It was really good. And so I kind of got involved in that, and then I got involved. Then I got asked to produce something. I can't remember what it. You know, I think it was another pal of mine asked me to get involved with some engineering on something. As a result of which, I landed my first production job, one which I have to say I was particularly not very good at. But you know, you start somewhere, don't you? And at the time, we you know, I wanted to do sequencing, and Steinberg had just launched Pro 24. And so I got the very first, I think one of the very first versions of Pro 24 into the UK. It came with a photocopied 15-page photocopied German manual, which I had to translate, or you know, I just kind of worked my way around it. And so I got on really well with the guys at Steinberg, and I just started working with them and saying, look, perhaps if you did this, perhaps if you, you know, blah 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 blah. And I had an Atari with a bridge that went above that had 2 disk drives in, each of which was a 360 kilobyte single-sided drive. And I thought, how am I ever going to use all this storage? You know?
Yeah.
So it kind of started there, and I found a real niche in understanding the production side, the artist side, the developer side, and acting as that kind of intermediary between all those, bringing all these different things together and sitting in the middle going, well, I think, what if you did this? And it just kind of, you know, that's something which continues to this day.
Well, that's really the job of a producer, isn't it? It's not so much a musical thing. It's about making everything work together, isn't it? And being that conduit.
I wish someone had told me that on my first gig. Yeah, no, it is, and it's something which I discovered much later. But yeah, it's to act as a conduit to help realise the vision, to try and fill out the gaps and realise the vision of the artist and turn it into something that has a unique sound. You can't, you know, I think the hardest thing to do when you're a producer is to not try and conform to the norms, because you hear all the records that are out, all the tracks that are out there. If you try and sound like everyone else, you end up not sounding like you, so it's not repeatable.
Yeah.
And the artist that you're doing it for ends up sounding like everyone else, and again, it's not repeatable. So encouraging exploration, exploring different ways to use technology to do that. Carl Bedford. Well, I just cancelled my 2 weeks in Natalie. Yeah, hey, Tom is back. So yeah, the job of a producer is very much to be the linchpin, but it's not just the. I thought in my first production job it was about playing the keyboards and being as much involved in making the sound. I thought I got it confused with being an artist.
Yeah.
And we learn, we move on.
Yeah.
And it was a good lesson to learn. It was a really good lesson to learn.
So,
but the other side of being a producer, of course, is taking care of all the paperwork, getting all the documents signed, getting the musicians' releases. Of course, none of which I did on the first gig. And it's a lesson that I learnt very well.
there you go. Yeah. So towards the end of the 90s, you hook up with one of my... Because you mentioned that you were one of the first people to get an emulator, and people were beating down your door to get access to that. But you ended up actually working for Emu Systems around the turn of the millennium. And so tell us a little bit about how that came about, the projects that you worked on. And, I mean, you clearly have a lot of Emu kits surrounding you still to this day.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was actually an Akai boy. I'd been working with Akai, developing all sorts of stuff. I mean, when I say developing, Steve Howell was the man doing an awful lot of that development work with the Japanese team, as it were.
Yeah.
But Dave Caulfield ran the marketing in Akai, and he did a fantastic job. He just, his instincts on that were just astonishing. I learned so much from Dave. And so I worked with him when he was at Akai, and then I was off doing other things. I was off. I started doing a lot of multimedia. I expanded the business. I built my another studio. I moved up to Gloucestershire by then, and I got involved in a project for a Japanese bank, where I'd committed. I'd bought. I think it was about 35 grand's worth of kit to stick in their head office in the City of London. And I committed, I'd already spent a lot of money on consultancy and bringing other people in to do things. So I was exposed to the tune of about £70,000. And at that time, I'd gone to my bank and said, I'm going to need an overdraft or something. And they said, it's with a bank. Of course you want an overdraft. Yeah, no problem at all. They just gave me one. Because it was with a bank, Japanese bank. I put the gear in, and a couple of days, literally 2 days after I put the gear in, it was the biggest bankruptcy in history at that time. 4 billion they went down for. I went back to try and get it out. The building was locked down, couldn't get in.
Wow.
I needed a job. So I rang Dave. He was working for Emu at that point. We all have these reverses in life, and I think the really wonderful thing about all these stories is what comes out of them. So I was down on my uppers. It was a very difficult time, and I rang Dave and said, have you got a job? I'd done a little bit of work with him just a few months earlier, and he said, yeah, we need someone in tech support, if you can lower yourself to that. And I said, I'll take anything. And so I went to Pinewood Studios and started working there, and very quickly started getting involved in the development side, and talking with the American teams, the dev guys over there. And that's kind of how I got involved in Emu. And it was, I think I had a very few days to do the very first demos. From when I landed in Pinewood, I can't remember, it was a few days, 3 days, 5 days, I can't remember. And I had to fly out to Norway to do a demo for their dealer there. And I was just looking at these boxes going, well, but guess what? I'd done an awful lot of programming, and I knew synthesizers, so there was no way I wasn't going to find something. So I worked my way around it, put this demo together, understood what the E4, this was before the Ultra, the E4, the ESI 4000, the Proteuses, before the Proteus 2000. I knew what they all did, so I just put this thing together with a computer, saved all the files, sent them over to Norway, said, if you can provide me with a computer with those on, I can run the synths, I'll bring all the files. And that's how, and it worked. They loved it. And we suddenly discovered that kind of demo was one of the most powerful sort of sales tools that there are. They love being showed around. So that's how I ended up with Emu. And that went on for a few years.
And still a big fan of their gear. I mean, you're obviously in your studio environment. You've got is that a command station?
Yeah. So the command station. I was going to play this for you, but of course there's no way of doing that.
Yeah, quite.
The command station. I think so. Here's the interesting thing. Here we go. That's the E4. There we go. E4 Ultra.
Yeah.
And above it is the P25. The E4 Ultra with the RFX card. Along with this, they're my secret weapons.
Right.
No one's ever really understood just how powerful they are. And there's all sorts of little niggles, but essentially the E4 synth and these are basically modular synths. They've got all the patch. They've got a huge patch cord system, and all of the patch cords are the kinds of things you found in the early EMU modular synths. So things like, as well as latching, it's the kind of quantizing and 4 times multipliers, and it's all this stuff that is just really sort of you wouldn't get it unless you've used a modular synth kind of thing. But my God, just the quantizing with things like LFOs, you can suddenly do these musical pictures. You can do sort of sequences just with an LFO and the quantize. So, and they also had some really seriously clever software guys working for them as well. In the what was then, because they were by this point they were owned by Creative Labs.
Yeah.
Creative Labs have been paying them a fortune in licensing fees for their technology, which was used on the sound card, on the Sound Blaster cards. So they thought, you know what, we'll just buy them.
Yeah.
Which was a shame.
Yeah. Yes.
Ultimately, but it's what it is. And their software team were designing things and working with stuff. They did the whole time stretching and formant, playing around with formants and pitch way before anyone else, and they patented all this stuff. And I remember going to one of the NAMM shows in Germany, and there was a spat going on, and it was getting louder and louder between Steinberg and I think it was TC over who owned the rights to this. I think it was something that was used in the TC Helicon or one of those things where they're doing time stretching and formant based pitch shifting, and Steinberg said they owned it, and TC said they owned it, and I just remember hearing all this, and I just walked over and said, actually guys, we own it. We own it. We've got the patent. If you think you own it, you don't. You've shot your bolt early. So it was a really, there was some very interesting stuff, and that box down there, the E4, as a box, it's a sampler. It's a sampler. 128 voices, 4 voices per. 4 sound sources per voice, 4 samples per voice, each of which can have 36 different patch cords going to 36 different destinations. The multi-layering on it, all of that. So it's 128 voices, multi-polyphony, stunning sampling. And then it does all this stuff with the synthesis, the synth engine in it. It's just staggering. I remember doing demos with it where I just put 4 waveforms on and then just built up a whole sound set, bunch of patches live, in one of the NAMM shows. Just built this whole bunch of sounds, really big synth sounds, just from some single cycle waveforms.
Right.
It was a good thing, and the guys that were there and the gals were just astonishingly clever, bright people. And I do miss working with them. I keep in touch with them all. I miss working with them. And they introduced me into the more corporate world in a hurry.
Right. So, moving forward into kind of present day, what got you into doing what you do at MMO UK in terms of the whole audio, visual, and your client list is huge and extensive, from big broadcasting corporations to big multinational global Capgemini and IBM, and the list is huge. What got you into that, and tell us exactly what it is that you do there.
You believed that?
Oh, okay, yeah, I did actually. No, you're very convincing. Yeah.
So what got me into this? In 1993, I moved up to Gloucestershire because a pal of mine was had a company which did distance learning, and he said, "Can you come up for a couple of weeks?" And we've got some voice that we're recording for a project, and we just can't get it to sound right. You know about the stuff. Can you just come up and give us a hand for 10 days or so? Mm-hmm. And I was kind of sick to death of the music industry at the time. I was getting paid really well, but it was all just going down one route, and I was getting sort of sidelined into this one thing, and I just found it a chore. And I knew too many people who deserved to do well, but because of the politics of the industry and all sorts of other things, they didn't. And it was very disenchanting, shall we say, disenfranchising for an awful lot of people, I think. And if you can, check out a guy called Joe Sang, Cang. Right. I met him at the church studios years and years ago, and ever since then, he's someone that should be a global superstar. Mm-hmm. And he's still making music today, and he's still, kicking it. So anyway, so I came up for 10 days, and it turned into 2 months, which turned into 3 months, and I thought, you know what, I better get a flat here or something, because I was staying with them in their house. It's all getting a bit sort of... Well, I think you ought to perhaps think about getting somewhere to live. It wasn't. They were very good, but I thought, I better had.
Yeah.
And just somehow I ended up being here and getting into multimedia. And the same company, they were doing... So I was doing all the audio for them. I was doing, music for their intros of these things, and I was doing all the voiceovers, right. And we were developing codecs with their programmer guys, especially a guy called Rob. Can't remember, it will come to me. We were creating codecs to make all this stuff work, and around about 93, 94 was when Windows launched Video for Windows, and I think we were the first company out with a commercial product that ran Video for Windows. So I got involved in that, and because they were making videos, I was kind of, let's just see what you're about. It wasn't really a thing that interested me particularly. And I went along to a production, saw what they were doing. And having been on tour, in the meantime, there's a whole bunch of touring with bands and things that I've done in the meantime, in the dim and distant. And so I kind of had an understanding of moving lots of people around and organising and staying on top of budgets and keeping people happy and making things work. And so when I saw what they were doing with the films, I was just looking at it going, how much is this? 125,000 for a film, for a video. For e-learning, what was going to become e-learning. I said, I think we can do it for cheaper than that. And for some reason I can't remember if they took a chance on me, or it was just that they were already working on something themselves and they thought they'd take it in-house. And I kind of got involved. I can't remember exactly how it happened, but I ended up starting to produce their stuff, and we dropped it from 125,000 down to under 30,000, then down to 25, and then down to 22 for each production. And it was by using the rock and roll stuff. So, we'd go and hire talent to appear in these things in London, some really big names. And I'd hire a rock and roll tour coach to bring them up to the West Country, 10 of them, and they'd have some drink on the coach, they'd have bunks and things, and we'd put them up in a local pub which had accommodation, and then we'd have a party every single night they were there. And I always said, you're going to pay for the booze, but I'll pay for the food. So we fed them, we watered them, and of course we always did pay for the booze because it was a tiny amount of the budget. And people enjoyed it so much they kept coming back again and again and again. And I started doing more and more of it. Then I got involved in editing. I was just looking at the costs of the editing, and I thought that's mad. They were going for a cheap edit, £50 an hour. but it was taking 3 to 6 weeks. And
Right.
I found a place that was charging £180 an hour, but they do it in half a day kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's that kind of thing. So I just kind of moved it on, and I got more and more involved in it, and I was doing more and more of it, and that's kind of how I ended up doing video.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about the e-learning side, because that's something I'm particularly interested in, because that's my day job. And I wish I'd got into e-learning when you were throwing, nightly parties and sticking everybody on a tour bus, but I sadly got to that a little bit too late.
That's well, the funny thing is, any project you get involved with, there are ways of treating people. Treating people well doesn't cost a lot. It doesn't, and it makes everyone give more and be more and want to come back and do it again, and cheap. So that was good. So the e-learning thing. So, but my friend's company, it's Chris Horseman and Kim Whitmore, who were married, and they together with another chap owned this company which they called Zebeck, a three-sailed, a trieme or whatever, it's a Greek thing, and they got into e-learning from distance learning, from doing things like museum exhibits with laser discs. They got into this thing, and they landed this one project where they were paid an enormous sum of money to deliver it. And instead of doing the work that they were supposed to do, or that everyone would normally do, they were a lot cleverer. They spent all the money building a system that built the courses. Right. Which was just so stupidly smart. And so they were doing all of this stuff, and I was doing the voiceovers, and then the video and all that kind of stuff. And got to know all the graphics artists and the learning designers, and I realised that it was a really important thing to be doing. That it actually did make a difference. I remember some years later working on a project where a company I knew, they were losing people hand over fist. People were coming in and working for them and then going because they did health and safety training, e-learning. And people just came in, they wanted to be doing groovy things in video and in music and in graphics. They didn't want to be doing health and safety, which is the nanny state. And I remember he said, what can you do to help us, turn that around? And I remember just looking at the facts and figures and saying, okay, you own essentially 20% of the e-learning market. So 600 people a year that year got injured. The year before, 600 or 10 years before, 600 people had died at work, and that year it was down to something like 80 people. So I was able to say, okay, if you take all of those figures each year, it went down from 600 to 82, and I said, so best part of 500 people a year are saved because of e-learning, because of training. Yes. And you own 20% of that. You're responsible for 20% of the e-learning training out there. So everyone in this room, and I think there were 10 people in the room, I said, each one of you has saved 10 people. You've saved people's lives. That's better, that's almost one a month. You're saving lives here. Yeah. This isn't just shitty e-learning or shitty health and safety stuff. You've made a difference. You've got a better hit rate. You've saved more lives than some of the paramedics out there. Yeah. And just by doing that slight little change, that changed their view on it, and the retention of staff just went. They started retaining people. Yeah. So the e-learning thing has always fascinated me, and that was just using the tenets of e-learning. It's kind of, let's understand the problem. Let's understand what it is you're trying to do, and let's state what it is. This is what you're going to learn. Tell them what they're going to learn, then tell them what they've learned. It's that kind of thing. And what I did with the audio and with the video was remove the barriers to learning. Yeah,
and it's very, very useful for that. I mean, it's a powerful thing. The industry that I work in, I know we're kind of getting off music tech, but I just want to get. I work in an industry that deals with secure identities and access control. It's very dull. It's very boring, but the way, again, that when I speak to my team and stuff, we're protecting people's identities. We're protecting some of the the big aircraft hangars is a big thing that our equipment is used in, and we're protecting multi-million-pound aeroplanes. We're protecting airports and travel and making things safer. And then when you kind of add that value into it, all of a sudden, when you're doing an e-learning course on how to fit and tune a UHF access control reader, which is inherently dull and boring, when you add that kind of spice to it, actually, I'm doing something that's really worthwhile and helping a lot of people.
So having put everyone to sleep with Tales of E-learning.
Indeed, yes, we'll stop that.
So bringing it back to the tech thing. So now what we do, it became obvious we were doing a lot of work, as a consultant, and it became obvious that set up MMO UK, and it became, thank you very much, it became obvious that we were doing a lot of green screen stuff, and we just happened to luck out and find this place when someone else was looking for another thing, and we built a studio, a green screen studio, and a voice booth, which is where I'm sitting at the moment. We've got a voice booth right next to me. And we just got involved in doing multimedia, creating multimedia assets, everything, from green screen to broadcast to marketing to training to music videos to audio books, the whole lot. And then about 2 years ago, a certain bug arose. And we were scratching our balls one day, and we got a phone call from someone out of the blue saying, we need a green screen video shooting for a presentation. It's a company that can't do their live events, so they want to do a video. Can you do something in a kind of building site, but in green screen? And we said, yeah. And they gave us 10 days. And everyone else had turned it down. Else had turned it down. So we found out we could do it. We could do the backgrounds with Unreal. We shot it in our studio. We put lots of movement in there. They loved it. They couldn't believe we did it in the time. And they said, we love what you've done with the background. Can you turn that into an event which people can walk around?
Right.
And we said, yeah, I think so. And that was with our partners at Invadar, who do a lot of the Unreal stuff, and Maxim, who are the events people. And so we ended up working for this company, Milwaukee, who I'm sure some of you would have heard of, Milwaukee Tools. And we built an entire 3D world for them, an event which has audio and video. It's got 3,000 videos in it. You can walk around it. It's not, a point and click thing where you stand on a cross, and when you want to go to the next viewing point, you click on it, then you end up there and you look around. You can actually walk around. It's fully explorable. It's a whole building site. And we realised we sort of discovered something quite amazing with this. And so we've in 3.5, almost 4 months, we went from nothing to building a site with 14 workstations, an entire building site, 14 workstations, 80 models. I think at the time it was 800 videos, 12 languages.
Wow.
And that's gone on since then. We've now got an entire front end and back end to that, which provides e-learning, live streaming, a whole bunch of stuff that is just, it's not so we've kind of dipped our toe into all these different worlds, and we're now sort of coming back to how do we use all of this stuff with it again?
Yeah.
How do we now pull all that back?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny the pandemic, as awful as it was, and many people lost their lives, and lots of people's lives were disrupted to varying degrees, but there was some very positive things that came out of it, and certainly in our industry. Many more people were asking for the stuff that we do, and we were able to facilitate and keep people connected and informed and educated. We were using that three-dimensional space that you were talking about. We used something similar, I can't remember what it was, to host events in virtual events, because we would normally go to trade shows where you could walk around our stands and try out the hardware and look at the stuff. So we brought that all into a virtual environment, and you could walk around and have presentations from people, or seminars or whatever. And then the whole e-learning thing just really it took off for us the last 2 years. Massive uptake in because people are sat at home, and they now find themselves with a bit more time to indulge. So yeah, I mean, there has been some positives.
I think what's really interesting as well is I think through the pandemic, people have learned to value the creative arts a lot more.
Yeah, very much.
They got through it. A lot more people have been making music because they've been sitting there scratching their asses. So people have started to make music and investigate synthesis and investigate the whole recording thing. A lot more people are doing it, well or badly. That's for other people to decide. But the fact is that more people are now involved in it, and I think that one of the good things to come out of the pandemic is that people in the creative sector are suddenly being rediscovered and being valued again. And the people such as Tom Oberheim, who are making these synths, suddenly people are rediscovering this stuff. Even the Novation Boys and all of these guys are doing things and releasing this tech, and it's moving forward at a hell of a pace.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's see. We did have a question in the chat, but I'm just trying to find it again. Here we go.
Was it, can you shut him up?
No, it was, who would win in a fight, an emu or a cassowary?
Cassowary?
I don't even know what that is.
I don't know what one of those is. Come on, Wagyu, enlighten
I reckon
us.
the emulator would win.
Yeah, you
Never
beat it
even
around the
heard
head with an
one of them
E2.
other
Yeah,
Yeah.
you'd be fine. So Sinriser says Andrew looks like Ty Unwin with a wig. Yeah, not bad. Yeah.
I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah. So I mean, guys, have you got any questions for Andrew while we're here?
How if you wanted a music video doing, is that a very expensive process to get involved in? How much could I get for £42?
£42 will get you a very long. It's a question that people are asking all the time. Hang on a minute, I've got to do something about my hair. There we go. Here's the thing. We do professional videos, so it can cost. How much do you want to spend? Do you want to spend $1 million? Do you want to spend 1,500 quid? What do you want to spend?
Yeah.
But a lot of the time, what we're doing, one of the great joys for me is advising people how to do it themselves. Which may sound weird, but I love mentoring people. We're working with a bunch of kids at the moment who want to get into video, but they don't know how to. So I've just said, let's go out and do some filming. I'll show you. The first thing I'll show you is how to use your iPhone and your Androids and whatever else you've got, and just how to frame shots. Okay? Then we'll get into the technology of it later, but let's just start with showing you how do you pan a shot.
Yeah.
So just the basics of, however fast you're panning is too fast. Just that, because you can always speed it up, but you can never slow it down and make it look good, right? So that kind of thing. So the answer is you can actually make a music video for your time alone because the tools are out there already to do that. In the same way as you can make an album for nothing other than your time.
That's brilliant.
And it's just about, and the best advice I can give to anyone that's looking to make a music video or otherwise is, first of all, storyboard it.
Yeah.
Storyboard what you want to do. Come up with the ideas. Doesn't matter how outlandish and freakish they are. Come up with the ideas. Use Post-it notes. Just put them around and just sort of have a beginning and an end and just play around with the arc in between and then come up with mad ideas or not, as the case may be. Just come up with ideas that fill it out. Don't worry about how much you think it will cost to do it. Just come up with the ideas, because guess what? Once you've worked out what you want to shoot, you'll always find a way to shoot it to the budget you have. You might end up, instead of doing green screen, actually just going out and filming someone on a sand dune down at one of the beaches rather than putting a sand in. So, or doing some really shitty sort of flying saucers with a piece of string and a Bakewell tart lid. But it all works, and maybe that injects some do it, storyboard it. I heartily advise anyone looking to make videos, storyboard them, because guess what? Most everyone will watch a good story if it's a video that's telling a good story. Everyone will.
Yeah.
Almost no one will watch really well produced graphics, etc., if there isn't a story.
Yeah. It's true.
Exactly. No,
Pacific Rim.
No, I was talking to Andrew about this the other day, that I get lots of stakeholders come to me and say, we want to make a video about this. And I just say, right, okay, turn it straight around, go and write a script, make a storyboard, just because that will give you everything you need, and then I can work with that, and it'll help you clarify your story and whittle it down into something that is a lot more effective. So, yeah, absolutely. Kenty.
Okay. Sorry, Lady Aptitude has said, I have it storyboarded but don't have camera, tripods, lights, or. Okay. Well, if you have something storyboarded, Lady Aptitude, you don't have cameras, you do have, I bet you've got a smartphone. You can post here. I bet you've got a smartphone. And pretty much any smartphone for the last 5 years will allow you to shoot video at HD at least.
Yeah.
And there's free editing software, there's trial software. You'd be able to pull something together yourself, and you just have to think a little, do the storyboard and think a little harder about how it's going to look on camera. How do you frame this? So do you frame this ugly mug here? Do you frame it like that, like this? Do you just go for the eyes? Do you go for a low down shot looking up? What's So, is that a better look? Because I've got my head cut off by the ceiling. That's kind of an interesting look, That's even better. That's kind of, there's a thing there. Now that's quite nice. There's all sorts of goodies here. So, how and just that and looking up, that's kind of weird. You can play around with this stuff the same as you can with music. If you can't afford a synthesizer, go and borrow a guitar. And use your iPhone or your whatever to record a song. Get the song right. If the song's good, then you can do all sorts of arrangements to it to make it sound wonderful.
Yeah.
But you don't need all of this to write a song. You need all of this so that we're all happy. And if you don't need all of this, why don't you buy it and give it to us?
Yeah.
B-roll was something that I remember discovering B-roll as a concept and shooting a whole bunch of stuff that wasn't going to be the main content but was going to be, and then you just drop it into a pot and then you could just pick and embellish, and that was kind of a revelation to me when I found that years ago. That was quite interesting. You
can end up with B-roll. So B-roll, for those that don't know, is exactly what Rob's talked about. It's those bits that it's those extra bits. It might be someone walking past you. It might be someone playing with their hands. You see it on the news. They're talking to someone and they want to do a shot from behind where you don't see their mouth, or they want to do a shot just on the hands doing something, so they can cut away and edit the audio, because the audio's, like me, going on too long. So to make that edit, they use some B-roll. Or, if you plan it well, some of that B-roll becomes the golden shots that you end up using. You end up doing almost a sub-feature, which you use to pad it all out. Yeah. And you can do that with almost anything.
Yeah. But as you say, I mean, nowadays, these things are just so powerful, and as good as any, sort of video camera was for many years. So.
Well, it's the same thing with sampling as well. In the early days of sampling, and I think it's an art that's kind of been lost a bit along the way. We used to go out and bang things. You used to go to scrap yards. We used to break glass. A friend of mine, Adam Fust, who's just brilliant. He's an engineer and a producer, and he's built a studio in Wales, in Llandrindod, Wales. Visit him. He's a wonderful man. I remember being at a studio he was working at, and we sampled a snare. We wanted a snare, and he got a bag of chains in a stairwell that was about 20 feet high. Bag of chains, concrete stairwell, and at the bottom, because they were still building, he put 2 breeze blocks and a piece of plasterboard and dropped this bag of chains on it, and we recorded it. The best snare sound. I mean, the best snare sound. And that's kind of people have kind of lost that a bit. I hope people rediscover it.
It's a big thing about sampling that I bet Ben and I were talking about this ages ago, that because we're both S6000 fans, and the S6000 has got this detachable front panel, and we said if somebody could come up with a sampler that fitted into something like that with a screen that big and a few bells and whistles on it, that would sell. And what did Sonicware do? They built the sample track, but then of course you have that. But
Which does,
but
it's the same thing, you know, you can sample, it's about having the connections to it, you know.
Yeah.
The onboard mics and things aren't that good, but if you get a microphone, plug it in, you've got a sampler, you know.
exactly.
You've got a camera, you've got all of these things.
Yeah.
I mean, what's really interesting as well is the way synthesis, people discovering synthesizers, and I know a lot of people have rushed out. I saw a brilliant meme the other day, which was someone in a fortune teller's, and the fortune teller said,
yes.
I see you in a small flat. And the next one it said, all alone. And then the next one it said, with a lot of modular synthesizers. And then the last one it said, geez, that's a lot of modular synthesizers. And it's that thing of a lot of people are buying stuff to buy it. They're not really sort of taking the time to learn one of them completely. When you do that, when you learn one synth really well, and then the next one, you learn so much about all the things we're involved with, from software development through to, you know, as I said at the beginning, I think compression, what compression is, the whole flow of sound from beginning, from oscillators through to the shaping at the end. That's also the same kind of workflow for video editing. How when you sample it, you record it, you put it into a whatever, and you cut and paste and do all this stuff. It's the same. It's the same principle for video.
Yeah,
same principles.
Absolutely. Any other questions for Andrew?
Don't think that. I
No,
think we've
couldn't
asked
see
the ones in the chat.
Yeah.
Just having
By
a
the
look
way,
now.
a cassowary, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, is one of these,
Oh,
which looks like an evil, doesn't it?
yeah.
What the hell is that on its head?
Elvis.
Jesus.
That's the pitch bend.
So I think if we're going to talk about a fight between one of those and an emu, I think the emu's numbers up.
I am not dressing up like one of them.
Okay.
I love that
Yeah.
one. I'm going to go and get one of those and snog it. Someone here says it takes practice. Most directors learn by copying famous moving scenes that they liked. Movies are film school if you look at them the right way. Same with music, listening to the right tracks, different tracks. We
Absolutely.
all get our influences, you know.
Yeah.
James Brown tells us one thing, and you know, Keith Emerson tells us another, and you know, Eric Clapton tells us another again. It's all,
Indeed.
it's all, you know, it's all.
I've
there
got a
for us.
question. How integrated is the Unreal Engine in what you do?
In what we do for virtual stuff, it's become very integrated because it does stuff that. So there's the other Unity, and there's various others. Unreal allows us to do things you can't do in the others. It's got this whole blueprinting system, so that in real time, you can it's a game engine. It's a game engine. So using that in lots of different ways. Epic, who own the engine, own Unreal Engine, they've decided they want to get more into. They've realised that getting into the corporate field and into events and things using Unreal rather than just games, they want to expand into that. They've suddenly caught on that it's becoming a really big thing. And guess what? It is. We can, we were able to help a client who had 5,000 people came to their last live event. And suddenly they've got 2 years of COVID. Well, as far as they knew, they had 6 months and then a year of COVID. And they couldn't keep in touch with these people. They couldn't keep them engaged. And so the task we had was to try and replicate the experience of an event from an attendee's point of view and from the companies. And Unreal was the bridge that allowed us to do that. So it's deeply, deeply embedded. And with the latest version of Unreal, Unreal 5, that just goes even further. It's an extraordinary extraordinary thing.
Our friend Dominic Hawken, who has his show on Sunday evenings, he's building synthesizers in Unreal 5, isn't he? He's really massively into it and doing some amazing things by all accounts.
It's those nodes, isn't it? In the background, you can combine nodes to randomize anything or generate it. It's so powerful, that system. I've only just discovered it, but I've started looking into it now, thinking, what can I
Keeping
use
track
this
of
for?
it is the other thing, though. It's a bit like having a modular, the blueprint section of it. Keeping a track on that it is like having a modular synth, and you just pull one thing, or you add one more cable, and everything dies, and you go, why? What have I done? What have I done?
It's because it's classic me. This is because I was a massive Unreal Engine user, and I was using the editor, and I was making, levels and posting them out for people for Unreal Tournament and doing deathmatch and stuff, maps and stuff like that. And then there was the plugins that allowed you to incorporate and swap files into Lightwave, and it was like, it's all opening out and it's all going mad. And I thought, do you know what? I'm just not going to ever make money from this, and started repairing synthesizers instead. I'm looking back now, and I'm looking at Unreal 5 now, and I'm going, you idiot.
Well, no, so
You should have stayed with this.
So here's the
You
thing.
should have stayed with it.
There's a time for all these things. When we were first asked to do this, the generally received wisdom, and then the term metaverse came up.
Yeah.
Most people doing what they said were virtual events were doing those point and click things where I said before, you have an X, you click on it, and it's 360. And how over 360 video are we? How over 3D video are we? Right? And here's the thing. When you're doing something like this, there's the gaming community. Okay, we get that. And then there's the rest of the world. And the rest of the world, guess what? They tend not to have a frigging headset. So immersive virtual reality is a tiny audience. It has its place. It really does have its place. So does AR. But it's actually a tiny amount of the total audience you may want to speak to. So the trick with VR and the trick with any kind of virtual environment is to make it something that you can wander around on anything, on your desktop, on these, whatever. That's the trick, because then you're appealing to a much wider audience who get to see it. And guess what? You don't have that one trick pony of 360 video. You've seen the guy jumping off of a mountain in a Red Bull wingsuit and flying down. You go, wow, this is good. And you look around and you go, well, that's a long way down.
Yeah.
We become used to stuff really quickly, and after about the third one of those, everyone's gone, all right, well, now what? Where's the story? Where's the story? So it's the same thing with Unreal. Unreal gave us the opportunity to see what the rest of the world was doing, reject it, and we selected it as the medium to build an experience which recreated that thing. So we built a full building site. Rob, you can find that on my LinkedIn or on Facebook. There's one of those. There's a trailer for it if you wanted to pop that.
What's it for? Sorry.
It's one of the Unreal things. It's one of the trailers. You'll see it's one of the most recent ones on my Facebooky thing. And the thing was that people, we're 18 months down the road from that very first thing, and the very first one we did, we had to get into all sorts of odd issues around working with WebGL. Because this had to land on the maximum number of devices and still work. And it was initially the first version of this, you had to download a big package, 1 gig or 1.5 gigabytes. It came down as 200 uncompressed and then inflated, and you'd run it. So it was using your hardware, your RAM, your storage, and that was kind of So we've moved on from there. We use pixel streaming now. The world itself has gone from being cartoony because we couldn't put shadows in it without it sort of coming to a grinding halt. Now it's full cinematic everything. In 18 months we've gone from Mario Brothers to Star Wars or Dune. In the same, it's the same environment. So, we've obviously improved it and added things, but it's really moved on. And guess what? People have come with us and they like it. They understand that thing, and we've got an environment that we can continuously change. We can add new things to it. We can change the interactions. We can force people down a path if we want, or we can just let them randomly explore. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. But 2 years ago, Unreal was available and no one else was using it. We were just lucky to see, and again, it's through this whole thing, working with synthesizers, from developing synthesizers and working with video, we discovered, we already knew how to connect the dots, as it were, and that's what we did. We connected the dots and said, Unreal Engine, first of all WebGL, then pixel streaming, then upping this and doing that, and immersive audio, and we looked into it. We're up for a whole bunch of awards on this now as well. So,
Wow.
By the way, it doesn't stop us doing all the other filming work we're doing. So, we have a whole team does that. So, but we're still doing proper filming, location-based stuff and whatever else. And I'm just getting back into music again, which is a delight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So when you're working on a video project and that needs a soundtrack, do you produce that yourself, or do you call on your contacts? Or what's usually the situation there?
It's an interesting question, because I used to do corporate music soundtracks. I used to do a lot of them and get paid really well for them. Back sort of 10, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, people were happy to pay between $2,000 and $5,000 for a soundtrack for a 2-minute video, something new and unique, or for a 30-second video. Because guess what? They would have to pay that if they wanted to try and use the music they wanted, but they couldn't afford the fees, or they didn't want to pay 20 grand to stereo MCs or to Fatboy Slim to use their tracks. So they'd commission something.
Yeah.
It takes a long time, and people... Hi, Mark Perry. I can see you there. Hi, Mark. Mark Perry is one of the guys that was working at Zebec when I first started out. He's a fantastic graphic artist, creative designer, getting into video. He's got into video as well, in 3D. He's an amazing guy. I learned so much from him, and we're still friends, all these years later. So nowadays with music, the honest answer is very few people want to pay for it. They're beginning to discover that library music's had its day as well. So they're beginning to start asking again whether or not it can be composed. But it takes a long time to do a track and to get the client to sign off. And usually their deadlines are so tight, the easiest thing to do is just go and find the best music library with the maximum amount of stems and edit it all together. I do the edit on that, and you can usually find something they want. I feel really bad about that, but I know that composition for this kind of thing is coming back. It is coming back, because everyone sounds the same.
Oh, that's encouraging.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a show.
Yeah, it's good.
Andrew, thank you so much for joining us today. Thanks for telling us all about what it is you do and your illustrious history. It's been fascinating stuff. And come back again soon.
I doubt it somehow.
No, not at all. Not at all.
We didn't get into any of the dirty, filthy music business stories. We will do one day.
Oh, yeah, we'll save that for next time.
We'll do that for a catch-up. We'll
do that.
It's been a delight.
We'll have a special.
Absolute pleasure.
That's special. Right.
And then maybe we get the interface sorted out and we can actually hear some of the stuff that you've got there. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, you will. You can see. Well, you can't see it, but I've got lots of stuff. Here we go.
He has lots of toys.
There's my red lights, and there's my screens everywhere.
Lovely.
And there's the vocal booth. 3 tons of gorgeousness. I won't show you next door, but there we go. Bang.
No, brilliant. Thank you ever so much for coming on. It's been a real pleasure. And so let's see, what have we got? So I haven't done this for weeks. I've forgotten what I do at this point. Ben, remind me. What do I do?
I just ignored this bit. I didn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, listen. What have we all got going on this weekend? Anything interesting? Andrew, are you working, or are you going to take some time off? Put your feet up.
I've got some voice audio to edit that just needs to be done in a hurry, so I'm going to be doing some voice editing. But we've bought a beautiful French arbor, like cast iron arbor. We really do have a 12th century stone thing that was dug out of the ground of the Virgin Mary, which is in the back corner. It's about 5 foot. She's beautiful, and we're going to put the arbor up around her and grow lots of roses around her, because it just seems like a good thing. I've reached my late 20s.
Yeah.
Dear, oh dear. Well, that sounds fun. I've got to do some podcast editing, so it's like going. I wish there was a quick way of doing it. Like, I wish you could put the audio through and then have everything perfectly transcripted, not and go, I'll cut this bit, this bit, this bit, and this bit, and then just do the edits and done. But no, I've got to listen to it. No, it's just I find that I have to listen to it to get a natural edit. But I'm sure there's probably, when it's a conversation thing, it's kind of And when it's done
yeah.
remotely, it's a little... I've tried using some of these voice recognition things, and it doesn't always... You spend more time kind of fixing the things that the voice recognition didn't get right for then to allow you to edit it. But
we get about 97 to 98% accuracy with the tools we use. We use them on video, and
I'll come around to your place.
It works really well. It just gives us a script, and I'm really good at looking through a script and going, okay, that's an interesting bit, that's an interesting bit. And because it's been done in a video package or audio package, you can do it with audio as well. When you make the edits in the script, that's reflected on the screen, so you do the cut from the script.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. It's a really good workflow.
That's what I need. But for
There you go.
yeah.
So and that is Digital Anarchy transcription. Transcription too.
Okay. Try well, so expensive, I bet.
Not in the time it saves you.
Oh,
It's about it's a couple of $100, and then after that it's really cheap. It's a few cents per hour of recorded
I see.
audio.
Gotcha.
It's brilliant. It's really good.
I'll have to have a look at that. Cool stuff.
Transcriptive too by Digital Anarchy.
Indeed. Well, yeah, I've got to get, because my bosses at Sound and Sound are chomping at the bit for this one, and it's a really good one. I can't say what it is yet, but it's a really good one. Oh yes, of course, merch. We'll come to merch in just a moment. Kent, what are you doing this weekend? Anything fun?
I'm getting a Oberheim 4 voice to speak digitally to a computer,
Nice.
or beat it to death with a clam hammer. It's one or the other. I'll let you know by tomorrow night.
My money's on the hammer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And also
hammer.
Sunday, I've got to get myself a big kitchen, shave me head, and stand in for Dom
Oh yes.
for his show.
Yeah.
On Sunday to have
He's
one
got
of our.
an amazing kitchen, hasn't he?
He's got a fantastic kitchen.
Bigger than my house.
Is it anywhere near Hebden Bridge?
Oh,
No, I don't know.
Hebden Bridge. Yeah. Well, no. Unfortunately, no. It should be near here. I'd love to use it.
Indeed. So anyway,
Yeah.
Kent will be on Sunday evening because Dom's not on. Dom's normally on. Don't forget, Randy's on tomorrow around
Yeah.
1 p.m. UK time, and then the main show starts at 2. And I think this week they're talking about Linux as music production.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Which I dabbled with it many years ago. Was it Rose Garden? The sequencer that was kind of the only one that sort of worked in Linux, and seems to have expanded that. So I'll be interested to see that one rather than listening to my football team getting beaten again. But there you go, never mind. I bet you're
Ben,
happy, Bunny.
what are you up to, Ben?
Yeah.
I'm just a bit of RSF, rest, synthesizers, and football. That'll be that's all I'm doing. I'll be coming in the studio, messing about with some of Phil's original tunes, trying to get the bass end nice and tight. I've been doing a lot of research on bass ends phasing and tuning things and getting that bass end really, really tight. So I'm going to be doing some of that over the weekend, but mainly watching football, I think.
I thought it was going to be rugby, sex, and fighting around.
F1 for me.
No,
Yeah.
I was bored of that.
No, I've disengaged with F1. Club level racing, mate. That's the way to go.
Collaborate.
Yeah, it's too much carbon fibre and champagne for me. I want mud and punch-ups in the car park.
All right.
Right.
So let's mention.
I'll be right over.
Yeah. Let's mention our merch provider, Viper Graphics, who you can see me on the no there you go.
Yeah.
There
Yes.
it is.
Dun, 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 dun,
T-shirts,
dun.
hoodies, polo shirts.
Fantastic
All you've got to
stuff.
do, they're really good quality things. Feel the fabric on this; it's very nice.
Never mind the quality, feel the width.
Viper Graphics, I need some T-shirts and the polo shirts and all sorts of stuff merch doing. I need it for our rebrand. So
There
get
you
in
go.
touch. Get in touch.
Oh, look at that. We've just done a business deal.
Big contract.
Fantastic. Yeah, so Viper Graphics, if you go to their Facebook page and then contact them from there, there's a telephone number, there's an email address. Tell them what you want, and the prices are all on our Facebook page. So if you go to the ProSynth Network Facebook page, we've pinned the post here, and say T-shirts are 15, hoodies are 30. How much are the polos? Do you know? 'Cause they're quite new.
I'm not sure. I think Andy might be able to post that in the chat.
Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Does he do does he do individual single ones as well, any chance?
Yeah.
He does? Oh, cool.
I think so.
I'll tell you what, Andrew, we got to get Hebden Bridge ones made up.
We have.
Yeah. He will do that if you provide him with. Well, he can do the design as well, but
Sweet.
he will do that. Yeah.
But yeah, I got my hoodie. My hoodie is awesome. Really nice. It fits really well. And then a t-shirt as well, which is just absolute bonus. So yeah, if you want your merch, Viper Graphics, just check out the post on our Facebook page.
Got to get one for Fiona as well.
There you go. So,
Cool.
I think that's pretty much everything. If you want to donate to the show, of course, lots of you have been donating through Super Chat, and if you're watching in catch up, you can use now Super Thanks. Well, it's not super about it, but there's a little button underneath the video that says thanks, and you can leave a donation to us there as well, which is fantastic. Thank you ever so much again, Andrew, for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure. Do come back soon and tell us about all those dirty rock and roll stories. We do like those.
Let's dish the dirt. That's what we should do. Let's
indeed.
a special dish the dirt one.
That's it. And next week we have got Dan Goldstein. We don't have Mitch on this graphic, but Mitchell Sigmund will be joining Dan as well. So two guys from Cherry Audio telling us all about MiniMoog and everything else that they're doing. We've also got Jim Danica booked on the show for coming up a little bit later this year. And this one I'm really excited about. We've got Evan and Chris from Sonicware coming to tell us all about the sample trek, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed that at least one of them will have a prototype that they'll be able to demonstrate to us. But those guys will be able to answer all of your sample trek questions. We hope. Lots more people coming up in the next few weeks and months. And, of course, if you know anybody that wants to be on the show, put them in touch. All our contact details are on the YouTube page, and they're also on the Facebook page. There you go. That's it. I'm done. I need a drink. I need to put my feet up. And I need to get out my new manual for my car and learn how to use it. Because it's
the round thing makes you go around bends.
Yeah. So,
And Viper, I will be dropping you a message. I'll dig you out. Doubtless, Rob can also provide you with my email and such. So yeah, we'll get.
Oh yeah. Polo shirts, £18.50. There you go.
Sweet.
So fantastic stuff. Thank you to everyone that's watched. Thank you to Andrew. Thank you to Kent, who is now an official member, and you will see his name in the credits. Yay! And Ben, of course, as normal. It's all your fault. So thank you again for all of this, and it's good to be back. I'm looking forward to the next few weeks. It'll be fantastic. Have a great weekend, everyone. Have a safe one, and we will see you same time, same place next week with the guys from Cherry Audio. Until then, it's goodbye.
Yeah, bye.